Well, good morning, everybody. Hopefully, this will work out. I am again trying the Zoom service with the ability for people to join in either locally by just going to the room or by calling in on their phone. Now, I have set it up where we're not using OBS, so you're not going to be seeing anybody's actual phone number if you call in. Although I do notice I just got this backwards here, so let me fix that. Let me see, flip horizontal. There we go. That should be better to the live audience out there, so you can actually read. Hey, was that Chris who popped in? Chris, going once, going twice. Sultan American. There you are. Hey, what's up, buddy? You have to like put your audio. Okay. So he says, hang on. So anyways, while he's doing that, this morning on Twitter, I'd asked some people what they wanted to talk about, and somebody had actually discussed really quickly. They want to know kind of a little bit about realism and idealism because they couldn't quite understand the difference between the notion that everything that you have to tells you that everything about reality is externalized is also the same evidence you would use to verify the hypothesis that it's internalized, right? Chris, is that you? I'm getting feedback with you. Okay. I can't hear you. So anyways, he asked if I could kind of do a little bit of hangout on that. And I guess I can. It's not an area that I'm really good at, to be honest with you. Idealism and realism are very complicated. I can only kind of give you the very basics of it, and it's probably going to be butchered beyond no end. But if people who want to understand it, we can kind of muddle our way through it. But in general, the notion is that we assumed reality is going to be something external from the mind. That is an assumption. That is a presupposition. We have no way to validate that. Anything that we use experimentally can be just as much evidence to support the hypothesis that is in the mind. Now, a lot of this came from a guy way back when. His name was Bishop Berkeley, also known as the Bishop of Clayton, I think his name was, or George Berkeley. But anyways, he came up with something called immaterialism. And his idea was basically that everything that exists is basically perceptions of the mind. It is an idealistic state. It is something that we perceive, and that the universe basically would not exist at least in a way that we would recognize it without the ability to perceive our surroundings. And we perceive our surroundings through a very complicated filter of sensory perception and brain states. And so what we perceive to be reality is, just what our mind says it is. It doesn't have to be that way. That what naive realism is, or what base reality is, who knows? I mean, when we start getting down to the very fundamental levels, we start realizing that stuff don't really exist. There's something called mereological nihilism that basically is the approach that objects don't exist. If you think about it, just everything's kind of a rearrangement of existing matter. Like atoms will exist, even that's questionable because electrons don't have any dimensionality. They're points in space. So what are they? But the mereological nihilist would say that a chair does not really exist because it's just a bunch of atoms in a very specific configuration. It's not an object discrete unto itself. And so there's a lot that goes into what is going to be the distinction between what we would perceive to be realism versus idealism. Now, I do hone to some kind of realism, but what realism is, I really have no idea. But anyways, that's kind of all I really wanted to say about it, because I really don't know a lot about this particular topic, but he wanted to know about that. So this is kind of a potpourri. I got Jim Majors, the CEO of Atheist Republic and kick-ass debater who cut his teeth hardcore on D. Desmay and just obliterated him. I'm sure he's still feeling the pain.
Yeah, I mean,
he took it dry.
I definitely was inebriated afterwards. I definitely had to drink in order to cope with the dreams that were to come, or nightmares rather. But no, it was a really good debate. I think on my end, something that I felt like that I needed to do. I didn't go in there thinking it was going to be any sort of an intellectual conversation, and so I made my argument reflect as such.
No, and I think you brought it down to the level that it needed to be at. You're exactly right. You cannot have an honest dialogue with Dean. It's just not going to be possible. We've all been there, done that for years. Right. And I think that the vitriol that he's putting out, you matched it in kind, and you did so effectively because you made him try to support his narrative. And guess what? He failed.
Sure. Yeah, I definitely held his feet to the fire.
Yeah, yeah, he's a person that just likes to bloviate, and he has an agenda, and everything that about Dean is that if you don't subscribe to his exact narrative, you are basically a hate monger.
Well, and I've seen it within his own community, like the way that he talks to people who look up to him. Like he just he just disrespects everyone, and if they don't subscribe to his ideology specifically, then he lets them know right away whether they're a follower or not, that they're wrong, and he's very very bullyish about it.
But do you notice that he's like a one trick pony? Anything that you do, he will always basically have the same script. Matter of fact, I just got done talking to a friend off Twitter. I'm not gonna mention his name unless he wants me to, but he was telling me that he was just now getting involved in coming conversations with Dean, and Dean basically is using the same script on him. It is formulated. It's like, you are bullying, you're harassing. It has nothing to do with the arguments, which, by the way, he has none. His whole narrative that supernaturalism is a form of naturalism makes no coherent sense whatsoever. I mean, just what does that even mean?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it's just word salad. I mean, literally, I just think that he's just had this diatribe going for so long that it's just become so rehearsed that is all he knows.
That's actually it. I think that's all he knows, and he just falls back. He doesn't fall back on that. Matter of fact, people may not recognize or realize it, but I was somebody that he was talking about for years, and he was accusing me of things like harassing his kids long before I even knew he had kids. And I'm like, how does that work? I didn't even know that you had children, and I'm sorry that you reproduced, because I almost feel bad for them. But his excuse was, well, you're using my real name, therefore that has an influence on my children, and therefore is harassing them. And I'm like, first of all, you use your real name. Your channel name is Dean Esme. That is your channel name that you keep changing back and forth between that and Max Colby, but you keep going by your real name. Right. So does that mean that you're harassing your children by you using your real name? It's just bizarre. It's absolutely bizarre.
Well, I will say the way that he scripts things with his child and makes them repeat these things, I think that is very much, I mean, he was right in the debate last night, and I confirm that he was right, that indoctrination is just what you learn from your surroundings. Like that's absolutely right. But there can be a positive and a negative indoctrination, and he is negatively indoctrinating that child.
Yeah, I think that you're right. I do consider that a form of indoctrination. He's teaching how to hate.
Yes, absolutely. To hate and to segregate and to make these claims about people, these character these character assertions that are just based on presuppositional beliefs.
Well, and the worst part is that here's the thing with Dean. When you even try to be nice to him, when you even try to have a casual conversation, when you even try to say, okay, put the vitriol behind, he will flip on a dime. He's the most mercurial and capricious person I've ever seen in my entire life. It's like you never know what to expect from him, because he'll be going along fine, and all of a sudden, change. He'll be just like, okay, go back in his vitriol thing. And it just drives me nuts. It's like, why do I want to bother with this?
Right.
But anyways, he was talking about the topic of your discussion is Atheist Republic a hate cult. And look, I will criticize atheists to no end. I'm not averse to that. I mean, I'm not one of the big atheist quote unquote YouTubers out there, because I don't subscribe to that party line. If I did, I might probably have a lot more subs. Fair enough, not my shtick. But I like Atheist Republic. I think they do a good job. I think you want to take it in a very good direction. I got no issue with any of that. But it is bullshit that it's somebody calling it a hate group. That makes no sense whatsoever. Now, I have issues with, Navabi. No big deal. But that doesn't make it a hate group. It just means we have a different philosophy.
Chris, if you're trying to say something, your mic's muted. Your mute's mic'd.
Muted, Mike.
Still nothing.
Nothing. And Jim sounds great today, by the way.
Well, thank you.
You do. You've been upping your equipment, I think, for these types of discussions.
Actually, so my laptop was stolen, and I am working from my daughter's tablet and my cell phone.
Oh, we'll keep it. It works. But why did someone steal your shit?
Oh, that's a long story.
You live in a bad area. You live in the middle of nowhere. How can anybody steal your stuff?
Okay, I'm just gonna say I don't want to get into it, but it was from a church. It was stolen from a church.
Oh man,
I don't want to get into it because I don't want this to become some sort of big like, oh, church, blah blah blah, whatever.
But, yeah, I know, I get that. Yeah. No, and I'm the last person to brass on people's churches if they go to church and they want to do that stuff.
And I mean, I am too. There are a lot of churches that I provide resources for. There are a lot of churches that I get invited to go in, teach on like Wednesday nights or Sunday nights or something like that, something a little bit more involved Bible study. That's just really unbiased. It's just the facts, just a Bible study.
Now, how does that work? An atheist going in to do like Bible study and scripture readings with people?
Well, it's because I'm not. I mean, in those instances, I am a Bible student first and an atheist second.
I would probably put you more as a biblical scholar in that regard, but yeah.
No, I would not. I wouldn't.
Well, I mean, you're doing scholarly work. I mean, but you were more than just a student. I mean, you know your stuff, and so you going in, you're being treated as an expert in these topics. Yes, Chris.
Yay!
Hallelujah.
I was trying to say that Jim is totally a hate cult leader. It's a fact.
Oh.
Well, you know what? I'm a cult leader too, I guess. So hey, it works. I mean, he's better than me, but
actually, I would say
you're a cult leader.
I would say I would say that you are more of a cult leader than I am because you've really kind of elevated yourself to this level of papal status.
That's okay. Fair enough. I can't argue about that. And actually, to be fair, I didn't vote myself to papal status. Okay, that was bestowed upon me by the masses. There was somebody's suggestion, and I just kind of ran with it. So,
right on.
I'm not that narcissistic to give it to myself, bitch. What the hell? No, I have fun with that whole Pope thing. I got to admit, it's actually today I met a guy named God of Bacon. And I brought him into the congregation because I mean, dude, if you're gonna have a God, that's the God to have.
Dude, you got to sanctify that guy.
Oh yeah, dude. I had a question. I was like, is it morally impermissible to eat a pound of bacon? Because I had a half pound of bacon. It was so good.
Yes,
but I didn't want to like commit a moral atrocity by eating another half pound and finishing it off because, reason.
No, gluttony is only a sin if you recognize that it's gluttony.
It was so good. I don't know what it is about bacon, but bacon is like the most cathartic thing in the world. You could be feeling like crap, you could be down, you're gonna have a bad day, but man, you have some bacon and everything's just better. And I got a dog barking. Sorry about that.
I don't like bacon.
You are a sinner and a heathen. What is wrong with you? Who doesn't like bacon? You don't like puppies either? You hate kittens? Huh? You don't like rainbows?
Don't like puppies. I like kittens. I like rainbows. I don't like puppies. I don't like steak either.
What? You don't like steak? You don't like a good medium steak, or even medium rare? I like medium rare.
I'm not a dark meat person, really.
Christy Santiago's really digging on your hair today, Chris.
Thank you, Christy. I do nothing with my hair. I literally just wake up with hair like this.
Who doesn't love Christy?
Look. I haven't combed my hair.
Oh, look how cute.
Come here.
We you know what's funny is you know what? I do have the most beautiful people in my live chat. That is true. I'm not trying to be biased, but we have beautiful people in there. Yeah. And I mean that mentally and physically and all around the board. So it's not just like physical looks,
Yeah.
Except for G-Man. You also get G-Man in the chat.
Well, you have to have somebody to bring down the curve.
Oh.
Yeah, there's always outliers, okay? So, but anyways, what do you guys want to talk about today? Again, I didn't want to go too much in the realism versus idealism. It's just that one guy didn't really understand that. Look, how do I know that reality is outside your head? How do you know that? You don't. You assume it.
I love that topic, though. It's like that's one of my favorites because I especially right now because I'm actually toying with possible like dualism.
Okay, well, Berkeley. He was a dualist, if I remember correctly, and so was a few. I mean, Descartes was a dualist.
Yeah, Descartes was a dualist. Berkeley was not a dualist.
No, George Berkeley thought he was a dualist.
I don't think so. He didn't. He didn't say that. He didn't think that there was reality separate of the mind. He did think that there were other minds.
I have to look into that. Now I definitely know Descartes was. Descartes' method was basically that God exists. He started for the foundation that God exists, which is unusual for most philosophers. Most of them will try to come to that conclusion, but he actually was more of a preceptor on that.
Yeah, kind of. He did have a little bit of a part of the whole meditation where he kind of quasi argued that his God was, not a deceiver or something,
Right.
and stuff like that.
Because
But,
it could not be so. That's how he argued against the Descartes demon or the evil genius God.
Right. I never found his I never found his argument against his own hypothesis that convincing, though.
No, I don't either. Resist the idiocracy. What's up, man? Welcome. We can't hear you. You're pulling a Chris. You come in and your mic doesn't work.
Hey. It's like the first time I've ever done that.
Yeah, but it is unusual when Jim's mic works perfect and yours doesn't.
Yeah.
You have to turn your audio on at the bottom of the Zoom, Resist. Go to the control panel. You'll see something that says mute, and on that it says join with audio.
Even a broken clock is right twice a day.
Unless it's digital, then it's not on at all.
Okay. Yeah. Even a broken analog clock is right twice a day.
Unless it has missing a hand, because if it's broken, it can be missing a bit. Don't mess with me, man. I will do a Socratic thing till you die. Okay.
You could have just.
I'm in one of those moods. I woke up this morning, and I had a really weird dream too. I woke up and I had this weird dream that I was like at a bus stop with Melania Trump, and she was just hanging out.
Automatically terrible.
Yeah, she was hanging out there. She was like trying to get back to the White House, and it was Saturday or Sunday, and there was no buses running that late. So I was like, well, I hope you get back there. It was just really bizarre. It's gonna be bizarre, but I woke up and I get on Twitter and I'm just inundated with all these different questions and people just asking me the weirdest things and bogging down conversation to no end. I'm like, what is up with it? I mean, I don't know what it is on the weekends. It's like where all these bizarre people come out.
Okay.
Yes. It works. Yay.
Yeah. It was going through my headphones, even though I don't got the microphone set up for it. So I got it now set up with my actual mic.
All right, people are asking how to join. You just go to the Zoom link. It'll have a meeting ID. Click on that, and you can do it. It's easy. Or you can call in with the phone. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I was watching my cell phone, so I had to get my computer on so I can actually be on with the camera and everything nice like that.
So what do you think about realism versus idealism?
I don't think I'm informed well enough to actually have a full opinion on it. But I'd like to hear what you guys will be able to teach me on it, because I'm sure I'm going to learn something new from this.
Well, I mean, what do you think that reality is, external or internal?
I think everything that we experience is internal, and that we probably can't fully know that anything external actually is real. The only thing we could actually know for sure is the experiences that we personally have. And that since the external side of us seems real enough to us, that's furthest we could probably go with that, at least in my opinion.
So you assume that, though, then?
I couldn't hear that.
No, you assume that reality is external then, because...
Yeah, I assume that reality is external, but I can't say that I know for sure that reality is external.
Okay.
My camera's a little high.
Chris?
Yeah, his view is very Berkeleyan, especially with all of our senses are internal, completely, all of our experiences. Because Berkeley's argument for the non-existence of an external world was basically that it was called the Berkeley's challenge, and it was can you think of something that exists outside of the mind? And you can't, because the minute you think of it, it's in your mind. And so basically what he did after that was just applied Occam's razor.
Well, see, but the thing with that is that you're thinking of the concept, right? Just because you can conceptualize an object doesn't mean the object has ontology. That's the difference between the reference and the referent. And so I can think of an object, but that object itself doesn't have existence. Now, if I look at an object, like I hold my cup in my hand, right? And I am drinking coffee because nobody wanted to bring me any this morning. But if I hold this cup in my hand, I'm visualizing it, what I perceive to be an externalized world, rather than just projecting it from an internalized state. Now, any experiment that I do is going to have the same results, regardless of either hypothesis. So I have to make a basal assumption that it is just something that exists external to my mind. And I will call that a faith-based commitment. I'm fine with that. It's on faith.
Yeah. the problem that arises is that Berkeley is going to argue that since all of our experiences are internal, anything that we perceive is also internal. So basically,
yes, on an
that's also
internalist view.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking that it's
So-
go ahead.
So what's going to end up happening there is that he's just going to say via Occam's razor that there's no reason to think that there is anything external. The only thing he ends up concluding is actually external of our mind is that there are other minds.
Well, see, okay. Can I take a devil's advocate approach to that?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm not actually advocating this, but think about this. If you can apply Occam's razor approach, which is the law of parsimony or parsimony, they call it, but the law of parsimony basically says that given two equal hypotheses, the ones with the less assumptions is the one you should go with. Okay, if they have equal predictive and explanatory capabilities. In this case, though, let's assume that it is equal, right? Anything that supports an external supports an internal. If I really was applying Occam's razor, wouldn't I go for the internalist view? Because I am now making, I'm now saying that, hey, I have internal things that I know of. I mean, I have some kind of internal system, at least I think that I do. I can at least support that. I'm now making an assumption that it's external. Wouldn't the most parsimonious thing would be internal? Or
No?
Yeah,
I think they're both kind of equal.
Okay, so Chris thinks they're not, and you think they're equal. Resist.
Yeah, I think that all the evidence of internal and external right there is perfectly 100% equal to each other.
I agree with that. So what makes it parsimonious to say that the external is better?
Well, because I think that the evidence for the external, I mean, you can take two different people who are experiencing their own existence, so to speak, and they can actually measure the reality of another indiviable.
Are they?
But
Are they?
I mean, but then you go down
Jim, it is assuming that there are other minds.
Right. You're already making a circular argument. You're assuming something that's saying this is evidence for that circular premise.
Because those two people that are having the same experiences and that they're both trying to measure with each other, the other mind is only perceived within the internal mind of the other person and vice versa. So you still have the same problem of the other person being nothing more than experience within your own mind or possibly an actual real external other person.
Do you want to know my evidence against externalism, or excuse me, against internalism?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, my evidence is this: if I was the only person alive and everything was totally internalized, I would be not so fucked up to create something like G-Man. I mean, if that's not a defeater, I don't know what would be.
I choked on my damn oatmeal.
Look at Jed, I saw Jim. Jim literally lost it. Beat that one.
So,
argument defeated.
Oh, God.
What's funny for me is
I love my children. You guys are great.
I agree with you, Steve, that it wouldn't be completely parsimonious. I think that the most logical conclusion that if Berkeley was to follow through with his ideas to the fullest is that there wouldn't even be other minds.
I think so too. And the thing with Berkeley is that he would have been a good modern quantum physicist today.
Oh, yes.
Because the way he looked at it is kind of the way quantum physics looks at things. Reality is not real in a quantum mechanical kind of way. It is all energy. It is all just states of conscious observation. And I'm not talking about Dill's slit where I say, oh, well, the observation affects the measurement of the system. We all know that. But there is something a little bit more fundamental. In fact, I was reading an experiment, and at least I was reading the excerpts of it. I didn't find the actual paper. So if anybody can find me this paper, please do. I want to read it. But supposedly there's a experiment they did with algae. And they had algae in a petri dish that was somehow quantum mechanically related to each other using electron systems. And I don't know if it was tunneling or whatever it was, but there was an entanglement there. And they took one of the petri dishes and put it many, many miles away in the other petri dish. And they applied a low voltage to one of the petri dishes. And the other petri dish had a response, which would violate what's called the no communication theorem. Now, there are ways of violating the no communication theorem in quantum mechanics if you satisfy other things. I know pilot wave theory will do such a thing because you're not really communicating any useful information. But it's still something that is amazing that things can act over a distance. Right.
Well,
there's something happening here.
Was this repeated? Was this a repeated?
Yeah, I think that, this is a pretty legit experiment. I just can't find the actual paper on it.
Okay.
But they've done some of the things with photons. So it's not far, outside the realm of possibility to have quantum mechanical states on a macro level. Sure. But what we're realizing is that reality is not that real. I mean, what we're seeing is perception of fields. Everything's a field, it seems. And when you have like even a point source like an electron, it has no constituent parts to it. You can argue string theory, but the size of electron is zero. It has zero. It's pointless. It's a point thing. It has no dimensionality to it.
Carrie's here. Does Carrie want to say anything?
We don't talk to Carrie. Carrie.
Hi guys.
Hi. What you got for us?
Nothing. Just decided I wanted to come and chit chat with smart people.
Oh,
you came to the wrong hangout.
Yeah. Did you get lost? Do you know where you're at?
No, definitely not. How are you guys doing? What's going on?
Hey, I may not have the biggest audience, but I've got a smart one at least.
Absolutely.
No, you don't. If you wanted to talk with smart people, you should have entered Max Colby's chat.
Oh God.
I'm sure it would be interesting.
I'm sure that
I'm going to get
drugs. Or actually, it probably wouldn't.
Yeah, I'm a pretty shitty cult leader when I only get about maybe 60 to like 200 people watching. That's not very big compared to some of these.
Actually had
you're bad cult leader.
Well, I mean, I talk about this channel, not non sequitur. We get thousands on that one, but
that one's different. That's
Kyle and I. So we're both cult leaders on that particular.
That's a tribe at this point.
Yeah.
Well, it was funny that last night, after he got tired and he left the debate and everything, he had a almost 3-hour hangout on his own channel.
I saw that he started one, but I don't watch it. I don't even know why I do him, to be honest with you.
Oh, goodness.
I went and hung out for a little bit and just kind of lurked and just kind of hung out there and end up sending some messages and everything. He did not drop my name, but he didn't mind bitching about Armin or anything like that about the organization, but he did not have one thing to say about me.
Dude, you trounced him. I missed the first, I don't know, 30 minutes or so, but what I did watch,
dude, it was vital. The presentation that I did was everything.
I'm gonna go back and finish it. Don't worry, I promise you I will. But I was just getting
what channel was it on?
It was on Modern Day Debate.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I have another one coming up tomorrow.
Matter of fact, if somebody's not busy, get a hold of Modern Day Debate. Tell them to come in here. I got to talk to them. I'm trying to reach out to Modern Day Debate for a while, but we keep kind of passing like ships in the night. So
yeah. James is awesome. He's a really
great. No, I really like James. I'm really supportive of his channel, and I want to kind of do something with him. I think he's got the same mindset I have, because his channel is what the great debate community is about.
Yeah,
this is what I started, years ago to have on this channel was communications and discussions like this, and he ran with it, and I think he's done a great job, and I'm thrilled for that. So I kind of like, work with him a little bit, and I know we're promoting him on Non Sequitur, but I also want to promote him in this channel as well.
For sure.
Hey Jim, who are you debating tomorrow?
Jonathan Sheffield again.
Hey Jonathan.
On which gospel was written first, Mark or Matthew?
Mark. Everyone knows it's Mark.
I'm gonna go with Mark. Did you ask that question on Facebook, Chris?
Everyone knows it's Mark.
I've talked with Jonathan about it before. On not on Facebook. I talked about it on Twitter. He holds to Matthean priority.
Yes.
I don't get it. There's like two scholars I know of in the whole world that think that.
And what's crazy is that the only basis for that are from the attributions to Papias, from Eusebius and Irenaeus, where they say that Matthew was written first, but it was written in the style of the Hebrew, as it means it was either written in Hebrew or Aramaic. And we know for a fact that Matthew was originally written in neither. It was originally written in Greek.
All right, let me give you a piece of trivia, Jim.
It doesn't even have the Aramaisms that Mark does.
Because I know nothing about the Bible, I'll give you a piece of trivia that I do know, okay?
Okay.
Because everybody knows it's windy. So who's tripping down the streets of the city, smiling at everybody when she sees? Who's reaching out to capture a moment? Everyone knows it's windy. Who sang that song? Come on, people. This is if you guys know this, I'll be impressed. This goes back to like the late 60s, 67, I believe.
Oh.
Yeah.
No.
67.
No.
Really?
I'm sorry.
For that.
Somebody's gonna get it. We have smart people in the live chat. So who sang that song? Everybody knows it's windy.
You, Steve.
No, I didn't sing it. I just gave you the words. You don't want me to sing it. I can. I know the song. Everyone knows it's windy. There you go. That's all. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah. By the way, we got a lot of people in the live chat. You can come in. Sarah, you haven't been in a hangout in ages. Godless Ozzy, you haven't been in a hangout in ages. Icon Class, you can come in. Off the Hook, come on. The association, thank you. Dr. Zayas gets it with a follow-up from Kimi Maki. Yes, the association.
Sarah Sledge said she thought the originals were in Hebrew.
No.
No. Were they in Aramaic?
The Old Testament. So the Old Testament was written in Hebrew. The reason that the Gospels were written in Greek was because at that time it was very much Hellenized by Alexander the Great, and so Greek was the most common language to be spoken. And so they wrote it in Greek so that way it would be better received amongst more people.
Now I thought a lot of them didn't want people to read the Bible. I thought they wanted to read it to them.
There is some truth to that, but it's also because the Gospels were probably all. I mean, some of them were at least one of them was written by someone who was probably not even in Judea.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Or Mark, and then also because they are writing to a more Gentile audience as well. A lot of the time, but
even the Jews in that area all of them were Hellenized.
Yeah, to a degree, it's debatable on how. It is very debatable on how
what level of Hellenization there was.
Yeah, especially how competent most people would have been in Greek in Judea.
Sure. Well, I could see the more urban.
Yeah, I could see the more urban areas probably knowing Greek, but like podunk backwater places in like Galilee and stuff, I don't think there's any way on earth that they would have even had a need for Greek.
Yeah.
So it is. There is some evidence to suggest that the Gospels do have translations from an Aramaic source, though. Some of them, like Luke and Mark both contain Aramaisms. Luke even contains Aramaisms in parts that are not copied from Mark. So
yeah, but they're usually the sayings of Jesus or John the Baptist, and those are usually attributed to the Q source, the hypothetical Q source.
Yeah.
Is that like the JSDMQPY elemento thing?
Nope.
That's something else. That's Genesis, right?
Yeah.
The JSDMT or whatever.
It's the Pentateuch. That's the documentary hypothesis.
I don't know this shit. I make it up as I go along, and if you catch me on it, great. If you don't, well, there you go. It's good entertainment because I have no idea about this stuff.
Right.
Yeah. The whole JD. P and E sources that those are for the Pentateuch, and most scholars don't. Most scholars don't even hold to it anymore. In fact, there's actually a book out now. Most of them don't think that the Elohist ever existed. The few that still actually cling to the theory. The Deuteronomist is about the only one that everyone thinks was real. But they just actually released a book called Farewell to the Yahwist, which is basically documenting how most scholars are even doing away with the J source, which just leaves at best D and P. Most of them are basically actually just taking a supplementary approach. Like Lawrence says that he uses the documentary hypothesis, but he's actually taking a supplementary approach, a source document that's being added to over time. And a supplementary added to. Mm-hmm. So
well, and I mean, and you have to do that a lot. I mean, even with things like mark and priority. I mean, you have to take a supplementary attitude too.
Yeah,
hey, look, join us. Say hi to Allie real quick.
Hi, Allie.
Hello.
Hello.
I don't think I've met Allie before.
How do you not know Allie? She's a mod. Everybody knows Allie.
She's off the hook.
She's off the hook, man. Not like off the chain, but off the hook.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
What happened to Carrie? Carrie got lost again.
Oh, there's a reason it's off the hook because I was gonna do a crocheting channel. So crocheting hook.
Yeah, Christy notes that I go from one topic to another. Yes, it's like an ADD thing. I do not have ADD, but if I see a chipmunk, things change.
where Off the Chain comes from too, right? Because like Off the Hook is the first, and then
That's right. That was one on one of my lists. Yeah, I didn't know which one was cooler. I think I looked up which names were more taken, and I think more people had Off the Chain already.
Right on.
So I ended up not doing that channel. It seemed too boring. So I had made an intro, and that was it.
I like knitting. Crocheting's not really my jam.
I like crocheting better.
You did that on air. Okay. Hey, I don't judge.
Little cute.
I tried it before years ago. That's not my thing. When I was a kid, my sister, my mom would crochet and knit and all that. And I'm like, okay, this is boring as shit.
Yeah, I just feel like an old lady doing it. That's the only problem. So I don't take it to the public. But there's some really cool things. Like I made a model of the atom. I did a Pokeball. I got a Santa Claus stuffed animal. Like when you do little hooks and designs, you can really make anything that's super cool. It doesn't have to be like a scarf or a blanket. I don't do any of that stuff. But when I have the time.
Yeah, no, I'm not against it. If people want to crochet, be my guest. I just.
I haven't done it lately though, but got a little collection of them from years ago.
Somebody says, "What the hell is Brett Keane doing in chat?" I don't see Brett Keane.
Wait, what? No.
Where's Brett?
No.
Brett doesn't listen to my channel.
Brett
wouldn't understand my channel. This channel is not for the average schmuckatelli. This is for somebody who actually wants to listen and actually have conversations of a higher. And now, if people want to call me arrogant for that, let them. I don't even care anymore. Smug Steve, go. But I'm really tired of the base conversations that people have in other channels that any idiot can have. And that is a cool fucking avatar, Carrie.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. I don't think anybody else can see it.
No, we can see it. Yeah. Did you do that?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Of course.
Yeah.
Chris, do you read or write Hebrew? I saw on your whiteboard. I read the first word. I couldn't tell what the second one was. Do you read or write Hebrew at all?
A little bit.
Okay, I can read and write Hebrew fluently, but it has to be with vowels only.
Yeah, I'm only. I would say I'm marginally competent.
Mazel tov.
It's an easy language to learn. It's very easy to learn. I learned it in less than a year.
It's super
really
intuitive.
in less than a year.
Well, I went to Hebrew school when I was younger.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah. My parents are Jewish.
All right. So what does this mean? Ready? You guys tell me. First one to get it. Ready? Shanda for the Goyim.
Really?
I have no idea.
You're a
I
shit
don't
guy.
understand it.
I do not know what that. Come on. What is it? It's Yiddish, but what is it? Come on, Chris. What is a Shana for the Goyim?
I don't speak Yiddish.
I heard your Goyim. I know what that is.
Okay, you know what Goyim is? Okay,
Goyim. Everyone knows what Goyim is.
Okay.
I don't know what that is.
It's a non-Jew.
I did not hear the rest of it.
It's a non-Jew.
Yeah, a Shanda for the Goyim. It basically means a shameful act in front of non-Jewish people.
Oh,
yes.
That sounds like something that would be.
You don't want to do a Shanda for the Goyim because it makes Jewish people look bad. That
sounds like there's a story behind how you know that expression.
My mom's Jewish.
Yeah.
Why don't they say?
You are what your mother is what they say in most languages.
Yeah, well, in the Jewish faith, if the mother's Jewish, then children are. As a matter of fact, I mean, I can get like dual citizenship in Israeli if I want.
Isn't that same? Doesn't that go for also Christianity or Catholicism?
No,
It's usually,
not like a lineage
usually
like that.
for most religions.
Not as much as the Jewish faith. The Jewish faith is really the lineage is passed down through the mother's maternal line.
Yeah.
Oh well, if you want to go there, in most Jewish families, you only marry Jewish people. They usually don't even let you do that. I was lucky because I moved out at a very young age and became atheist very young, so they had no options. They had no choice in the matter.
You know what Jewish foreplay is?
I've heard this before.
2 hours of begging.
Yeah.
That's always kind of struck me as a little bit odd because normally in the hierarchical line, it's going to be the males. So it's just strange that religion kind of takes that turn and goes more maternal.
I guess it shouldn't be that hard. Ladies are always wearing skirts.
Well, I say it's progress. There you go. Equal opportunity.
We need to have
screw the patriarch.
We need to have Brack around sometime because he's Orthodox Jew.
You know what? How do you know Brack, by the way?
He managed to pop into right after I had my debate with John.
Okay. Brack knows shit, by the way. I will testify.
Oh yeah.
I've known Brack for a very, 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 very long time. He doesn't come
I don't
around.
think I know who he is.
Nobody knows who he is. That's why I'm surprised how
Okay.
Chris knows who he
I
is.
was
I know a
there.
lot of people that they don't actually go into the Hangouts, but I talk to a lot of people. I've known Brack a very long time. If you want to know about Orthodox Jew, he is your man.
Oh,
yeah,
I
he's great.
babysat for an Orthodox Jewish family, and that made me very biased towards them. It was very horrible time I had.
He's just a really smart guy. We catch up like
Very
once every couple of weeks. He'll message me and say, "Okay, it's time for us to catch up again." So
Brack
Yeah,
is,
they're pretty
Brack
strict.
is
Very
one
right.
of the single nicest guys ever.
yeah, he's a good guy. He has his own show. Yeah,
I've
But
never
yeah,
heard
I
of him.
can't.
What's his name?
He ended up
Brack, BRAK.
That's his only name is Brack.
How many names do you have to have? What is this?
I
Is this like
Is
a
that the name
Latina
of his
thing or
channel? Is that the
European
name of
thing
his
or what?
channel?
need your surname.
They're not
your
like
middle-
there'll be like Manuela Venezuela Consuelas Santiago.
No, is
Luis-
that the name of his channel? Brack.
Like Christy Santiago is actually 2 words, but it's actually her full name. It has like 15 different separate words to it. Yeah. And then it ends in the third.
How would I find this gentleman? Should have been the appropriate question.
Just look for the Brack Show.
The Brack.
That's from
Okay.
Space Ghost Coast to Coast, isn't it?
Something like
Okay.
that.
I'll have to
Who's
look.
thinking what?
Brack was that?
Who was fapping?
Intellectual iconoclasm was using some
Oh, he does that a
hand
lot.
sanitizer.
all the time.
We don't judge. Are you sure that was sanitizer?
You sure that's not lotion?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not judging.
You
Okay.
do you.
He must have heard us
I'm
talking
ju-
about G-Man. He wants to be sanitized.
Oh, God.
I'm judging a little bit.
I don't hear a barf bucket. That's a lot of judging.
Yeah, I guess, Brad called the AXB a few times. Now, I know people, by the way, I'm not calling the AXB. I know a lot of people have asked me, Steve, why don't you call the X Experience? No, I'm not going to call the Experience. And it's not because I don't want to talk to anybody there. That's not the reasons. It's this, that format is not conducive to my type of discussion that I would like to have if I have any kind of conversation with any of them.
Yeah, they would just cut you
I'm
off.
not necessarily that. It's that show, which I do like. I like the Atheist Experience, but it's tailored for people to call in and make their arguments and not for them to support their arguments. And I get that. I'm not faulting them for it. I really don't. You just wouldn't have time for them to have a show if they did it any other way. So it's not like it's a slight against them. But my arguments are not your typical I'm a theist calling in saying God exists or running some stupid narrative argument that we've all heard many times. And so I would like to have a little bit more opportunity to suss it out in a little bit more articulate and elongated way.
I've actually known a few people to call them just to pretend like they're religious and blow their minds.
They do that all the time. People do that all the time.
It's so but you can't
come
tell.
this close
That's
to calling
that's the scary thing. You can't tell if it's actually somebody who's just doing it for the laughs or if it's somebody serious.
Well, you know what? Chris would call in, he'll pretend he's me. I see. Nobody could actually impersonate my voice. I have one of those weird voices that are not impersonable.
It's not weird. It's not weird. I love your voice. I would never be able to.
I don't know what it would sound like for somebody doing an impersonation of me. I'm not like Ken Hovind. Ken Hovin's got a very distinctive voice.
You don't forget that voice. You don't forget the things that come out of it.
I was able to pull that one off though. Pretty good.
Josh, Dr. Bowen. He's really good at it. Who's your voice that you did, Jim? Who's your voice? Who's the one you go to?
My voice?
Yeah, who's the one that you can do?
Probably Shaggy and Scooby-Doo and
come on, we're talking about it in the community.
I was just gonna say Shaggy, the rapper.
No, he's talking about from the cartoon.
The dog, or the dog owner guy,
I don't know.
I could do Tommy Lauren.
This is a cool name. I this was a real person, but it's just Sister Shiska. I love that.
I have enough back.
I don't know enough people in the community to really have developed their. I don't know.
See, I couldn't think anybody could
probably
impersonate your voice either, Jim, because you don't have a very distinctive voice. I mean, I could recognize it, but it's not like it's simple. Like, look at Darren's Deity. His cadence is so awful that somebody who does a parody of him sounds indistinguishable from him. Right. So,
I gotta go. I'm supposed to be on Lawrence's reading Sundays.
That's right. Well, go say hi to Lawrence.
All right, guys. It was nice talking to everybody. Have a great day.
I guess I've been invited. Yeah. But by the way, real quick, I guess I've been invited to go to Modern Days Debate channel at noon, my time Pacific. and I guess we're gonna have things like 4-way with a Satanist, polytheist, and a Christian.
wow.
Yes, I don't know.
Oh wow.
Yeah, what can go wrong?
That's gonna go. Yeah, that's gonna be very interesting.
Yeah, but Sister Shiska, hi. You wanna like chime in here, sister?
I heard a mic click.
No, that was Jim leaving.
Oh.
Other noises. See, CCS Sleeper says, what about Talk Heathen? They're way more patient and have multi-show callers more often. Yeah, I would probably be much more willing to call and talk. I've actually, I know Eric Murphy pretty well. We talk off air often. He's a nice guy. And I've also talked to Jamie Boone, the president of the atheist community of Austin, on his phone. We actually have each other's phone number. And so I've discussed things with him. And so he's a lot more willing to learn and to talk about things than other things. So other people. So yeah, I really respect those guys that talk Heathen. I really like Jamie and Eric, because they're smart guys. Now I don't agree with them per se on everything. Don't get me wrong. I think that Eric is learning, right? I mean, he's kind of new to the scene, I think, and he's kind of learning the arguments. I think Jamie has to come in and kind of, I don't want to say save him, but guide him a little bit. But he's okay with that. He's not so arrogant to think that he's like at a level where he can handle any kind of theist caller, because some of these theist callers are very manipulative.
Oh yeah, especially when you mess with
Dawkins.
He's the worst, and he's the one that's been calling in recently, and he does a number on Eric a little bit, and it's not Eric's fault. Again, I really like Eric; he's a very smart guy, but you have to get used to Darwin's shtick. You have to know his script.
Yeah.
Right?
Can we never talk about him ever again? He's like the manatee.
He's
like
that bad.
I hate. I mean, Dawkins.
Darth Dawkins, Evolution Falls, Star Wars Deity, Dancing with Hyenas. He has a lot of Duncan Dawkins. That's all him.
I have debated him once, and it was painful.
Is he worse?
So
than
painful.
Is he worse than G-Man?
I would rather
call it a debate.
Oh, no one's worse than G-Man. That's pretty close.
No, I would. I would rather debate G-Man, because at least G-Man is entertaining.
G-Man is infuriatingly stupid. Darwin's infuriatingly manipulative.
He's actually been getting a lot meaner. Like G-Man, I guess with age, he's just getting.
We got a hand up though, so real quick, Sister Shiska, you want to chime in? You got your hand up? I love Zoom for that. You can actually put your hand up. It's great.
Oh really?
Yeah.
What?
Oh, I don't.
How do you do that? It's cute.
I don't remember. I think you go to more down at the bottom. I don't think I have it on the my thing, because I'm the host. But I think if you're not a host, then you can have it.
The only time I've ever used it was to go on your stream. I think that's the only time I've ever used this for.
So Sister Shiska, what do you got? Okay, if you agree with me on everything, just remain quiet. Thank you. Okay.
I think she just muted herself.
No, she's not muted. We're assuming her gender. Don't do that.
What? Sister.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Chris could be a sister. He's gender fluid. What are you going to, come on.
I cite the Sisters of Mercy.
Mm-hmm. How about John P? You got something for us, John P?
Well, I got to be a fanboy for just a quick second.
They accuse you of that, don't they?
Hi, Carrie Waska.
Hi.
Oh, Carrie, you're a fan of Carrie. Fuck you. Okay, whatever.
Hi, who is this?
What did you think I was talking?
Yes, my narcissism kicked in. Sorry.
I mean,
I'm a fan of Carrie's too, though.
Yeah, Carrie, you wouldn't know me. I've never been in any of your live chats, but I've watched your videos and commented on some of them.
Really?
Wow, I'm not the only one that watched your videos. Wow.
Hi, nice to meet you.
I love you too, Steve.
I know. Hey, I found Carrie when she was just a nobody.
I'm still a nobody. What are you talking about?
She's just lesser of a nobody now.
She's
getting known.
No, I'm still a nobody.
She's European though, and so they have a different shtick over there, right? They have a different kind of a subculture. It's hard to break into the American.
You mean a sense of humor?
Yeah, that's what they call it.
All right, we can do that.
Okay.
Nice to meet you, John. Thanks for saying hi.
So real quick, I do want to ask about this. And again, I don't like Schadenfreude, which is like the misery of people. I'm not one to get off when people have shit happen in their lives, unless they're really disgusting, vile human beings. And then I'm like, hey, I really don't care. So I've had mixed feelings about this particular thing. But if G-Man is actually homeless, He is a vile, disgusting piece of crap, but I don't think he deserves to be homeless. But anybody know the actual story on that?
No idea.
I think he moved in with somebody out west, and that's why he left Jersey, and he had a place to stay now.
No, I hadn't heard anything
They
about that.
kicked him out of the house. There's been a whole bunch of video drama posted on it. And when I saw that, I just shook my head and walked away. Like, man, one, if you're in this case, probably because of you're creating your own issues from what he's done in the past. And I've almost been homeless. It's terrifying. I would not wish that on anybody.
Yeah,
I've been homeless before. I know exactly like it's not.
If he's homeless, I have to come down on my snap judgment is, what did you do to yourself this time?
He seems like that type of person where he got himself in trouble probably with his mouth. He said something or messed up a medical insurance, or he got fired for saying something rude or something. It just seems like his mouth would get him into a lot of trouble.
Well, the last I heard, and again, I don't follow the drama with him any longer. I've kind of extricated myself from that nonsense. If people want to talk about G-Man and that
good
community drama, they're more than welcome to.
You're too good for that.
I've extricated myself quite some time ago. And I'll do it every so often because, like I had to talk about Nate only because he's just been making these videos after.
Well, you still need updates.
I don't dwell on it. And people, what's funny is like, Steve loves drama. I'm like, I make one video, somebody makes 50, and I'm not even exaggerating. I'm like, because there are people out there I have people that have made 50 videos about me, and I'm like, and I'm the one with drama.
Craig's still counting his. He's up to like 60 videos.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you, go look. Some of them are deleted now, but there have been people, that whole channel is dedicated to just talking about me, and I'm like, wow.
People are bored.
Nate, I could just follow your Twitter and just you make one tweet, and suddenly everybody comes in going like, "No, you're wrong."
Loses their shit, right?
Yeah.
Except me, I just fuel the fire.
Yeah.
Nate actually put another one out about you yesterday, Steve.
I have no idea. I don't do. People message me all the time. I'm like, I don't watch them. They're just insanity. I mean, he'll never understand the topic. The people that have tried to explain to him off air, which has been numerous, gave up. So whatever. If you want to tilt at windmills, be my guest. I'm a piece of shit. I'm a narcissistic, smug asshole. Whatever. It doesn't really matter when you can't defeat the actual argument when you have a straw man of it. That's it.
Is this is Nate Brody?
Yeah, there we go, Sister Shiska.
Oh my goodness!
By the way, you want your camera on, sister? Do you want your camera on? Hello, yeah. No, we can't hear you. We can see you making out with the mic though. You got to practice somehow, I guess. I'm not judging.
It doesn't look like she's muted though.
No, I think you have to go to the very bottom. Look in the bottom where it says mute and it says join with audio.
Bottom left, it says join with dial or join with audio, phone audio, or whatever audio.
Yeah. Nope.
She has another icon up too. There's a picture of her, and then there's also a generic icon that shows her as muted.
Oh, really? That one disappeared for me. Now I just see her video stream. That's it.
You might want to also check to make sure that your mic is coming in from the right source, because that was the problem I had when I came in.
Oh, I had that problem so many times too. Oh, I think I heard you.
Did you? Oh my God.
There we go.
So hard
I think we heard something. Yay.
This is the hardest shit to manage in my life. Okay. It would not let me use my microphone. I had to back out of it and do all this other stuff just to turn the microphone.
Did you just wake up? Or you look like you're just getting out of bed? I mean, like your dad is just, you're
Steve, I met you the other night.
Yeah,
you came in on one of my chats with Cade.
Yeah, no, I remember you. Trust me. We were on the Kane's channel or your channel or whoever channel it was. Yeah.
Right. And you had this little atheist chat, and I was trying to jump in when you were talking about what the goyim meant, but this thing wouldn't let me get on here. So
okay.
You guys have since moved on from the goyim subject. Remember?
She's not a fan of Jewish people, from what I understand.
Oh no. I'm not really. That's funny.
Oh, because when I meet a lot of other atheists and I tell them my political views, because it's less of a religious thing and it's more of a political thing. It has to do with the policies coming from Israel more than actual like Jewish people. It's what
Israelites,
right? It's the more, well, here's an example. Everybody's here is for free speech and allowing people to express themselves, correct?
For the most part.
Absolutely.
For the most part. I mean, there's always limitations on everything. Like I won't allow Nazis to come in. I won't let anti-Semitic people in. It's just
no, I mean, like
I'm a quasi-authoritarian.
So do you think people should be allowed to produce music without impedance?
Music?
Yes, music. I'm talking about music.
For the most part.
I'm talking about like creating an album. Are you against that, regardless of what you think it is? I'm not talking about coming in the hangouts. I'm talking about in life. Are you
for the most part? I don't think there's always limitations. There's no one size fits all on everything.
It's the same thing.
Are you trying to stir up violent resistance or rebellion, or are you just saying this whole system is screwed? It pisses me off.
No, I'm going to give you an example of what's going on in the United States right now, and actually across the world.
Sure.
Go ahead, sister. I'm listening to you.
All right, here's the lowdown.
I'm right there with you.
Here's the lowdown on the hoedown. my husband is a professional musician. Okay. And he is signed to small independent record labels that are not Jewish controlled. And you've heard the narrative, the Jews own Hollywood, the Jews own the record industry. Well, there's a very small sect of the record industry that is not owned by Jews, and it's run by an underground music. Okay. Now, this is the most extreme type of music in the world, I would say. It is. I'm not going to lie. Name the most offensive type of music you could think of.
Sex Pistols,
let me put it this way: this stuff.
I don't think I can name any.
This stuff makes Sex Pistols look PG-13.
I was going to say some of the separatist rap, some of the racial separatist rap, and some of the Nazi music.
Yeah. What about John LaCroix? He has a song called
"Sexual Icon." I think it is. On the head.
Yeah. Okay. So secularist. So separatist rap.
No, it's not rap. It's not rap at all. No rap. It's not even.
Okay, but it's separatism, right?
No, it's all kinds of stuff. Let me put it this way. One of my husband's bands that's been Antifa. We call it Antifa, and they're a porno grind band. They got. What
does that mean?
What, porno grind?
Yeah, never heard that.
It's hardcore death metal with porno in it.
Oh,
okay.
Okay, so here,
I don't have any problem with people making that stuff. I don't know if there's a market for it.
Actually,
there's a huge market for it. Here, hold on, I'm getting there. So we just received note from the record labels that the banks, the IMF banking system, has decided to pull all of our credit card privileges. So the record label. There's 2 record labels right now that just had all their
record label. That's what most people do. That's not that. It happens frequently with people. Yeah. They don't get a record label, so they just make their own.
No, but you're missing my point, sir.
I don't think I am.
Oh yeah, you are. Hold on.
You're assuming that you're assuming that you're being singled out.
Okay, can I? Yeah, you're not letting me get there though. It's not about the record. Wait, hold on. Okay, so we opened a record label, okay, because my husband's on some of these independent record labels, and we just got our monetary system taken away from us. Okay, it just happened. All right, because I'm gonna tell you why. That when PayPal took, and when MasterCard took all of our privileges to utilize their services, when they came back and said their reason to suspend was for hate speech.
Wow.
So how about this? Do you think it's fair that I open up a store and I'm not allowed to use cash, credit, anything in order to trade my goods? That's what they just did to us.
I have no idea the reason before, so I can't even comment on it. It's not matter being fair.
No, I'm sorry, but I'm going to go on the side.
I'm going to actually cite the bill. You want me to cite the bill? It's HR 27. There is a bill.
That's
illegal, at least for the cash part.
It's illegal for the cash part.
They passed a law. They just passed this law, and they're already utilizing.
Are you in Canada?
That's Canada. That's a Canadian.
No, it's not Canadian. This is American.
Is it recent? Is it something new?
Yes, it just happened.
Okay,
that's what I'm saying.
That's why I wouldn't know about it.
Yeah. You're not the only one.
All right, so iconoclasm. What were you saying?
I can even show you the article that says this is This is happening.
Intellectual. What were you saying?
I'm saying that there is absolute conspiracy theory alert, but no, there's absolutely a concerted effort by the payment processors. If you look at what's been happening with Patreon over the last 30 days, if you look at what happened,
that's true. Sure.
Well, they're Patreon too.
Hold on. Let me finish. if you look at all of the crap that's happened, if you look at some of the other organizations, if you the other payout places, these places are being handicapped in the financial market. It is illegal for credit card companies to take money from dispensaries. I shop at dispensaries where I can still use my credit card, even though there are federal laws against that, and that's okay. But people who are saying, I disagree with you, this is BS, are being silenced by having their access to the market taken away. And I don't mean the public.
No, I'm not going to disagree with that. I think that I think you're right on that. No, I think you're right on that, Electoral. We've seen it. We've seen it happen.
Saying you can't use your credit card at a dispensary because of their clauses?
They can't use credit cards.
No, it's an IRS thing, and there's still dispensaries that are getting around that. But you're being shut down because you said something somebody finds objectionable. They are literally trying to turn you out of your home.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to question that. We've seen people. I mean, even on Twitch, people get deplatformed. When one of the ladies, she got deplatformed for saying there was two genders as her opinion.
But this is it's different to be deplatformed from Twitter than to take your financial access away. There's a huge. I'm sorry. There's a difference, and I'm going to read this to you. Here it is: a wide sweeping initiative from the United States Department of Justice back in 2013. So this is actually an operation against people like me. It is called Operation Choke Point.
Well, what it is, it's
initially designed to curb payment processes, activities for black metal and death metal record labels to shut them down. It is called Operation Choke Point. It's actually been going on since 2013.
That actually sounds like the title. That actually sounds like the title of a death metal song.
It's like my Saturday night.
But my point is if we support the banks doing this to people like me, next month it'll be. Wait,
hang on. Let me get in here real quick. So I'm just looking this up. Operation Choke Point in 2013 was the initiative of the United States Department of Justice, which would investigate banks in the United States and the business they do, firearm dealers, payday lenders, and other companies believed to be at a higher risk for fraud and money laundering. These would be like quick cash places, and which would be a payday lender. That's what it is. That's what it says it is. Operation Choke Point. So,
but that's not what they're But see, they can sit there and say all day long that's what it is.
That's a smokescreen.
Right, because the lawyer representing the record labels, he said that the one guy, Moorbound Records, because Moorbound Records has been fighting this for quite a few years now, because he was the first to go. He was actually the first that in the whole United States on the black metal label circuit that got shut down by this very law. His lawyer had substantiated that all the things all those things you listed that could get him, like the firearms or terrorists or whatever, he was found to be innocent of all those charges, and they still won't allow him to use Patreon. That was another one. I'm glad.
Don't they have to give a reason behind it though? Don't they have
hate speech? It was hate speech.
That's a gray area. That's really hard to disprove.
I'm sorry, but speech is speech is speech. You can't tell somebody they're not allowed to have money, use money, spend money just because you don't like the things that come out of their damn mouth.
Well, no, I disagree with you on that.
I disagree.
There are platforms are allowed to determine what they have on their period.
Yes, I think YouTube is allowed to determine what it has on there. I think PayPal is allowed to do it once. I think that Patreon is too.
Yeah, and one might argue that PayPal is a public utility. They might argue that, but you cannot do that with YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. Those are not public utilities. Those are private.
However, they have tried to define themselves as the public square.
They have tried, but it doesn't.
And then
it doesn't work
from that square. We're at the point where the president can't ban somebody on Twitter because that is the public square. But at the same time, you can be banned from Twitter just because you said something that is offensive.
Yeah, no, I get that. No, I get that, and I think them doing it as a public utility is not going to work. I don't want them to talk out both sides of their mouth, but as it stands right now, they have the ability to TOS anybody they want for any reason. They don't even need to give you. But it's all a matter of image, right? I mean, if you're getting TOS'd for ridiculous things, and by the way, yes, Sargon got deplatformed for the most stupid crap. It was an active smear campaign against him. People don't want certain people to have a platform. I get that. And I think it's disgusting that they have to go after their financial platforms in order to do that, just because they have a different opinion. Because I don't think that Sorgan says anything that vile.
Okay. So I live in the UK where there actually is laws against saying things that are offensive to people.
Same with Canada.
You do not want that to happen in the States.
No, I don't. No, I mean, nobody's advocating for that, Carrie. Nobody's saying that.
Okay, well, I'm gonna push you on that. Okay, well, the way you're
I will destroy you. I will eat your soul. with fava beans and a nice Chianti.
No. I was just going to ask, what wine will you pair with that?
What?
Hear me out real quick.
No,
I mean, I have to be careful. I'm an anti-theist. Like, I am strictly against religion, not against religious people. Religion, it's a virus to human beings. It causes them to do horrible things. I don't agree with it. It's child abuse, blah, blah, blah. I have some really, really severe opinions on religion. I can't say that shit here, or they'll take me to jail.
Well, I know that's Count Dankula had that issue. Same
me and Dankula have actually talked about that. I mean, whenever he first got arrested, I talked to him like 2 days later, and he was shaken to his core.
No, I know. I think it's obscene.
First they come for the comedians, then they come for the musicians. Okay?
Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing with you.
Poor sister Shiksa, she's experiencing that right now, and I think it's disgusting that people are trying to stop other people from acquiring funds or buying things or making transactions just because they can.
Now, as long as it's not promoting hate speech, I don't care. There's a difference between a comedy.
But Steve, what the fuck is hate speech?
If you go out and advocate, I'll tell you. Well, hang on.
Not violent speech. Not violent.
Hate speech can be violent speech. Violence falls under hate speech. If you go out and advocate for the lynching of people, that is hate speech and violent speech. That is not constitutionally protected.
But is that okay? In 2019, who the hell is going to go call for a lynching?
It happens.
Well, hang on. Yeah. And I mean, it's like, is that the definition that everybody's going by? Because where I live, hate speech is just saying Islam is bullshit.
No, I get that. No, and I disagree with that.
So the meanings are changing, and we have to keep up with that. So we can't talk
saying
about
Islam is bullshit is not hate speech in any way, shape, or form.
In the UK, I don't think anybody.
Okay, hang on. Iso, go ahead. Iso, go ahead.
All right, the Southern Poverty Law Center defines hate speech as anything advocating for genocide.
The Southern Poverty Law Center is racist as hell.
Hell yes, they are.
Yeah, no, they're not.
Yes, they are. They're a terrorist organization.
Proof of that.
Wow, that's
yes,
pretty.
They are.
The Southern the Southern Poverty Law Center is a racist.
Yes, they are. They're Jewish.
Because they're Jewish. Oh, because they're racist. Because they're Jewish.
It ain't got nothing to do with.
This is getting good.
There's nothing to do with
because they're Jewish.
Wow, Steve, you've managed to get a dumpster fire. I'm impressed.
I'm awesome at that, ain't I? We went from realism and idealism to dumpster fire shit. Yeah.
My first dumpster fire. I'm so proud.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny.
I'm just listening. I'm not. Nope.
I've been looking up all the the record companies, following up who their CEOs and all that are. I went from Virgin Records, followed all
Jewish, probably
Universal, up through what's the French company's name now?
I don't know.
I'm too center for you people.
Carrie speaks French, doesn't she?
But anyway, it's a French company that owns it, and it's a French dude that's a CEO.
Virgin Records, you're talking? No, that's
he's not Jewish whatsoever.
He is Jewish, I think.
Just because a lot of people are Jewish. Some of them are going to end up being Jewish.
You can be French and Jewish.
Is Jewish. Half the people in people are going to be Jewish. It's just numbers. It's probability.
Can we please make a distinction?
Point out one thing and stick with that.
I'm so confused here. Why people are just
can we make a distinction?
All I did was ask
Jewish and being Jewish doesn't mean a damn thing. But if you're a Zionist, that doesn't matter if you're a Jew or not. Can we agree with the point that there are Zionists out there who are doing horrible shit, but just because you're a Jew doesn't make you a Zionist?
Zionists that aren't doing horrible shit, though. I mean, Palestine as Israel. They're all ideologues over there. They're literally fighting over a piece of land, the Gaza Strip, that is absolutely worthless, that has no value whatsoever, of any kind of monetary or economic or housing. Nobody wants to actually live there. It's all because of religious reasons. That's it. Both sides think they have some kind of divine reason to have that.
I'm going to disagree with you, and I'm going to tell you.
How are you going to disagree with that? That is,
I agree.
there's nothing I said on that isn't true.
I'm going to tell you what it is they want. It's a geopolitical move. It's actually.
For what purpose?
That doesn't mean I'm wrong in what I just said.
Wait, hold on. Have you heard of the Greater Israel Project? Don't laugh at me until you've heard of the Greater Israel Project, please.
You know who we need to clear all
Anybody
ears.
here tell me what the Greater Israel Project is?
I'm full ears. Please enlighten me.
Details.
All right, the Greater Israel Project.
We're going ASMR on this.
So it's the Zionist plan for the Middle East.
Right. It's the annexation of Israel. They want to expand their borders. They want to take parts of Iran. They plan to take parts of Syria as their own. So the Greater Israel
that's what countries do. Okay.
Let me ask you. Wait.
When's the last time we any land by force in this country?
Let me ask you. If they don't agree with this, do they put them in FEMA camps? If you don't agree with the Zionist movement, do you go to a FEMA camp? Is the government going like?
Some of this stuff that actually does exist. It's just most people take it too far to the left or too far to the right. Yes, Israel is it. I mean, and all of that shit going on is based out of the Bible. And my God said, "This is my hill," and my God said, "This is my hill." We all know that. But
which is what I said. Yes.
In 2019, God, y'all aren't going to like me anymore after this conversation. They're very.
I don't know if we liked you to begin with, Carrie.
I'm the only one that had a fan come in and say, "Hey, what's up?"
Yeah, you already had your praise for the day. You have 3 subscribers, and 2 of them are in this room right now.
Hey, I'm only here because I'm a fan of Steve McRae.
There you go. See, somebody gets it. Thank you.
But
I actually don't know any of the other people here except for Chris.
This is unusual for this topic. I generally don't have these types of discussions, but I will allow it for today because this is interesting, I guess. But what happened was I was going around different channels the other night, and I happened to run across Sister Shiska and a few other people, and kind of came up on that topic. And so I think she has a right to come in and kind of,
of course.
Go a little bit further because she allowed me into hers, and she gave me an open mic, and I was appreciative. So I'm not going to shut her down. But
it is interesting, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, like I said before, it has nothing to do with the human being. It's the mindset. It's the mindset that they think we are goyim. Okay, that is the mindset.
It's non-Jew.
Yeah, but there's also a Talmudic.
It also means outsider, other, different.
It also means cattle slave in the Talmud. Have you read Sanhedrin?
I'm bothered by.
Have you read excerpts from Sanhedrin where it says we are cattle slaves? Because that's the real definition according to the Talmud.
I have read all of Sanhedrin.
Yeah, and they call us goyams.
Only one school. The Talmud is made up of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different rabbinic schools, and not all of them think that they're serious. Actually, lots of Jews don't even take a whole lot of the rabbinic schools that seriously.
No, and I agree. The Talmud is not one book. It's a series of books, and they actually add on to them as they go along. And that's why it's so huge. And that's why they have a huge library of them, because any rabbi can go and amend the Talmud. Did you know that?
You know more about Jewishness than I do, and my family.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm like the only Jew in here, and I have no idea what the hell.
I've been studying it for a long time.
Yeah, how about I bring this up with my friend? How about I bring this up with my friend Brack? He's getting
Brack would be really good for that.
He's an Orthodox Jew, and he'll just tell you how wrong about everything.
How about we do that, Chris? How about we do that?
Really? It doesn't say we're goyim in there?
Hang on, sister. How about this? We can schedule, and I'll run this by Kyle because this is one of the topics we tend to avoid on the Non Sequitur show. But if Brack wants to do it with Sister Shiska, we might be able to arrange a conversation.
That would be good.
I mean, that's a religious conversation, though. So I don't see how it's not a subject.
Well, talk to Brack and
this is stepping over into race.
Yeah, it goes into more race realism.
Because Judaism is a religion.
Yes,
hey, Steve.
Oh, John. Sorry.
Can we get Mel Gibson to moderate?
Oh no!
I'll ask him.
That was good.
That was good.
I have a question for Chris. As a biblical scholar, did you hear 08, 09 timeframe, some of the most liberal rabbinical schools started blessing off on kosher pork?
That's not possible.
I'm not a biblical scholar.
Okay, I apologize.
Because they can amend it as they go along.
It's not a problem. I did hear a little bit about that, but it's actually not a part of I don't know of any organized system that in Judaism that actually condones that.
Well, I know
I'm telling you, when I went to Hebrew school, I was told you could take squirrel meat and have a rabbi bless it.
Yeah.
There's no way to do any pork product in any term, any way. It can never, ever happen.
Yeah, here's the thing. A lot of the Muslims were trying to change things because there was ways of doing interrogation techniques where you would soak them in pork fat and use pork. And so they're I think what they were trying to do is trying to make it more halal, so that there was the stigma that if you were doused in pork and interrogated and killed or something like that, you were doomed for all eternity or something. Because
it's a fear tactic.
I think Sister's right. I mean, when it comes to these things, people can change the rules as they go along. I mean, we've seen it happen even from the papal edicts from the Vatican. If they want something to be changed, they say, "Oh, look, God has revealed this to me. Guess what? We're no longer going to do it that way. Even though we've done it for this long, and it was the only way possible, and we killed people in that name. We are now going to change it because we were wrong. God changes mind."
Personally,
of course, we have that.
Yeah,
sure.
But there's a difference. Okay, can I?
Yeah,
I've been sitting quiet for a little bit here.
Unusually, but yeah, go ahead.
You can change the rules. The rules change all the time. We see this all the time in Catholicism. We see this in Judaism. We see this all the time. You know what they're not doing, though, is they're not altering these books and changing the rules in the books. No one's going through the Bible and going, I mean, some people do, but no organized faiths are going through their holy books and altering all the rules in there so that it now supports their faith. They
have what they call addendums, and an addendum means you add it later on. It doesn't mean you remove the old.
Yeah, they don't go back and do a revision.
They add on. Any rabbi that, like the current head rabbi, I don't know his name, I can't pronounce it. It's like the pope of the rabbi of the
Pope?
Right.
Is it Jewish Pope?
Well,
no,
there's a head rabbi.
Who may brag to be Jewish Pope?
He's a head rabbi of the whole world. Okay. I forgot his name. There's a name.
No idea.
Did you know they have head rabbis just like they have popes?
I didn't know that either.
No idea.
There's like they're in Jerusalem. I can't remember his name. I can't even pronounce it. It's so Jewish. It's like blah 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 blah. It's like Aaron Ben Van, son of David.
Jewish is not a language.
Yeah,
I mean like the name itself
is dialect of Yiddish. I've heard.
Right, it's a huge name. But anyways, that's here nor there. They have the power to do an addendum at any point in their hold of power. They can say, you know what, something new has happened, something modern has happened, and now God came to me. If they say God came to me and he says this is how we need to go about things because the modern world says we need to do an addendum.
It's called ongoing or progressive revelation.
Right. Their books don't, the Talmud doesn't stop. And that's what I was trying to portray to you earlier. It's not that they're changing it, it's an addendum.
But on the side.
Sirenian says Chief Rabbinate is what he's called. Chief Rabbinate?
Chief Rabbinate. There you go. Chief Rabbinate. That's it. That's it. The Chief Rabbinate.
Wait. Can I ask you what Chief Rabbinate you're talking about? Because
I can't pronounce his name.
There's usually one for every, there's one for every country, and there are 3 in Israel.
I can't pronounce their names, sir.
There is no rabbinic pope. There are multiple leaders, like bishops.
But they all get together and they all have the power to add anything in the Talmud.
I don't think it's like a secret club.
David Lau, Yishkef Yosef.
There you go.
Meir Lau.
There you go.
Yitzhak Yosef. That's how you would say it.
How do you say it?
Yitzhak Yosef, I believe.
Okay, I'm not good with.
It's not just adding to the text. It's adding and it's illustrating a point of view, a debate, an argument, a this or that. It's not just throwing stuff in there whole cloth.
Usually it's them trying to dumb it down or explain it. It's usually an explanation. It's not usually them veering off and adding things.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, I definitely think they changed things. By the way, I'm trying to get Willie Mays in here. We have to have a discussion too. Now, I don't know much longer. I am going to go on a modern day debates channel at noon. Then we have a Patreon hangout at 1:00. If you're a Patreon of the Non Sequitur show or of this channel too, I'm going to include either or. Even though it's on Non Sequitur show, we do a Patreon every weekend on Saturdays. This weekend we're doing a special one for today. I know Intellectual Iconoclasm comes and joins them. And Sandrine comes join them. But yeah, so we're going to be doing that at 4:00 Eastern. Kyle wanted me to put that out. So it's going to be a busy day today because we have this hangout. We have the modern day debate. We have the one at 4 Eastern for the Patreon. And then we have Ken Hovind at 7 Eastern.
Oh, yeah.
And then we might have an after show.
He's actually showing up this time?
Yeah, I called him on the phone yesterday.
We hope so.
I literally talked to him on the phone.
Wait. That thing last night didn't happen.
Yeah, because I literally talked to him on the phone and we scheduled it for today.
Oh, did R and Raw get to debate Nephilim free?
No, that was shut down, unfortunately. And I understand the reason. I am not criticizing Kyle's decision. It was a very difficult decision to make. I'm only disappointed because I was 4 years in the making and they've never spoken before, and that would have been justified gold. But
I don't see why Aaron Raw should put himself down that much. I mean, he's dealt with Jaredism already. Why put him down more?
I was thinking it'd be hilarious considering how drunk Aaron Raw was when he came in.
Oh, he was shit-faced. He was plastered. he was in rare form. He was not taking any shit.
Yeah, he did seem different.
I was supposed to be up there last night hanging with him at the soiree, but bills suck.
Was this in Texas?
Willie says he doesn't have time to come.
Okay, well, next time, Willie. I'm going to get you, Willie. Don't worry.
He's going to touch that Willie.
I'm going to get you, Willie.
Oh, yeah.
Also,
I want your Willie in here.
Hands around that Willie.
Yeah, get your Willie in here.
I wanted to.
Carrie said that to a few times, hasn't you, Carrie?
I missed that. What did you say?
You said get your Willie in here. We'll get that. Yeah.
Ooh.
No.
You have not seen Carrie's channel. It is not PG-13.
Man, you need to get off that Willie.
It is rated R. So if you come to visit me, come with a drink. You're gonna need
That
it.
makes it even that much better.
I was just about to ask you something, and you made me lose my train of thought. Damn it!
You get derailed easily. Yes.
Am I saying your name correct?
Sure.
You and I need to have a talk about Southern Poverty Law Center, my friend.
That would be an interesting conversation.
Oh God.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
So don't you do legal stuff? I don't like. I'm not doxing anything, but don't you have a knowledge of law?
Do.
Yeah. Okay. So.
That's great. That has nothing to do with.
On the note of the law, can you guys get?
I don't have a extremely advanced knowledge of the law, but I do know how Southern Poverty Law Center comes to their conclusions.
So do I. That's where we will disagree.
So do I.
Have extensive knowledge.
I know you do, Sister Sishka, but you know.
But not like her. Definitely not like her.
Sarah says YouTube sees me as alt central. I'm okay with that. I'm moderate. I'm gender.
So Steve, would you say you're was it radical centrist?
No, I'm not radical. No.
No,
what is alt? Because I'm the alt centrist.
No, there's a R enlightened centrist on Reddit where it's just all these cringy memes about being a centrist.
Yeah, I'm a radical. Yeah, radical centralism. I will not depart from the middle.
I don't.
You know, it's like the people that are like super into horseshoe theory.
The what's theory? What the hell is horseshoe theory?
The horseshoe theory is that theory that the two far extremes.
Oh yeah, I got it.
Yeah,
yeah. I'm sorry, I do know what that is. Yeah, it's actually like something with like the Overton window.
But yeah, Chris wants to speak.
We don't care what Chris has to say.
I do. Shut the fuck up, Steve.
Thank you. Go, Chris. We want to hear you talk.
I did want to clarify something earlier when Steve said there's no one in the chat that doesn't support free speech. I don't support free speech.
Well,
I'm kind of with you there, Chris.
Well, hang on. I mean, again,
I kind of agree.
I support free speech to a point. There are limitations. I mean, I did put that caveat on there, right? I'm not for. I am not for.
I don't think speech is a necessary right.
No, it's a liberty.
Yeah, I think, my opinion is people demand free speech. I go with Kierkegaard. People demand free speech as compensation for the freedom of thought that they
The
don't
free
have.
I feel like it
speech.
should be a privilege, like your driver's license.
Well, it's not a privilege, no. But the free speech is this: if I want to address grievances with the government, I don't have fear of reprisal from them. That was the original intent of that, right? And then it got migrated and moved and changed by the Supreme Court to say that we have a right to say our opinions without fear of redress from anything. And unfortunately, that's not practical.
Redress from the government, not from anything else.
Right. But but again, there's a broad application of these things, right? And the thing, I've always said this: look, when you're out on the internet, we're all on the internet. We all have, most of us have channels. We put videos out. We talk about a lot of stuff, and we're gonna get shit for it. But we are responsible for what we say. If some people agree with it, great. If some people don't, whatever. But we have no right as far as being on YouTube. If they want to take us off, they're allowed to, and I would be upset, but they have a right to do what they want to do on their platforms. Same thing with Twitch, same thing with Twitter. You do not have free speech in that regard. You cannot say whatever you want. There are limitations. I have no issue with that. But if you're standing on your front lawn and you're shouting, to the world, weird beliefs, nobody can stop you from doing that, as long as it doesn't cause a public disruption, or is like, having violence, or something that could be, deemed inappropriate for like children or something. But other than that, that's fine. If you want to say, hey, the government sucks, you're allowed to do it.
Kind of like something my old high school teacher told us is that your right to swing your fist ends where my nose begins.
Right. I like that. I agree with that as well. I mean, I've heard that many times, and I think it's a very apropos way of looking at it, right?
Yeah. It's just a way of saying that your right to express your rights is limited by your ability to infringe on someone else's rights.
Well, then by that philosophy, Jews have more rights then.
Why?
How
so?
Well, because he said that his ability to swing his fist stops where the other person's nose starts.
Oh,
oh yeah.
And somebody had said, Steve,
I guess the beer's still smoldering.
Somebody was saying like Steve never gets shit for things he says. Never. Yeah, and I like the fact that I get shit for things that I say, because if I did,
freaking trap long enough for me to give you shit. Jesus Christ.
If I
Wait,
didn't,
Steve.
Yes.
Talon Price in the chat. We have another A Stevist.
Is an A Stevist?
Hey, I'm an A Stevist as well.
Talon's A Stevist. There's a couple A Stevists out there. A Stevist.
You've got one here in the call, so
Yeah, but I mean, again, if people are not saying that they disagree with you, then you're probably not having anything controversial to say. I know there's large channels out there that get, and I'm not talking about non sequitur because they get just as many, but there are other channels that just have hangouts that get 500,000, 2,000, 3,000 people watching. But I gotta tell you, every time I watch them, I'm bored out of my freaking mind. They're not controversial, and any idiot can sit there and go, "Oh, here's a theist, and they're saying stupid shit." Okay, whatever.
It's the same story over and over.
I don't watch them any longer. I don't find them to be entertaining, and I'm not trying to be generalistic, but I find that a lot of the atheist community just has not upped their game. They just sitting back going,
right.
Theist is wrong.
You're right.
Look at them. Let's mock them. But it doesn't take
right.
long to do that.
I've been around on YouTube since what? Let's see, 2008, 2009, and the early days it was absolutely fantastic. Now everybody's so PC, tiptoeing around everybody. Yep.
Yeah, well, I'm afraid to say anything controversial because you get laid a homophobic, bigot. I have every day I get accused of something pejorative, whether it be harassment. I had somebody say that I was transphobic, for God's sake. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
I saw this newest
thing I've ever heard in my life.
Steve, you are
Transformers.
Just because, Chris, you're not my type doesn't mean that
I'm fat phobic.
I think
seriously, I'm now fat phobic.
That
that's the thing.
old episode.
I'm human phobic. I don't like anyone.
I just think it's funny is that when people say that you're causing problems in communities, or you're having arguments that that are bad. Okay, fine. If people have bad arguments, call them out, but you can't call them out by claiming that they're being bigoted or being transphobic or being racist,
promoting hate speech or
promoting hate speech. Right. I'm not against atheism. I help atheists become better atheists. Okay. I mean, I'm not advocating any position. I have a friend. I have a friend who I talked out of being agnostic. I moved her to strong atheism because that's what she was really believing. Right. So I don't have an agenda. The people that have an agenda say, we want you to take this label. We want you to be this part of this clique. I'm not interested in that.
Except for rock atheists. Fuck
those
rock
are funny
atheists.
as shit. Oh God.
I think Steve's coffee just now kicked in because it's getting loud.
Yeah, it was just a lot of people in here, and it's hard to.
So on that note of, you're in my crowd, that's been my biggest, like, I'm only now beginning to call myself agnostic, because for the longest time, I've heard the argument since high school. I'm in my late 30s. Oh, you don't have a religion, you're an atheist. Oh, you're non-denominational, you might as well just admit you're an atheist.
If you're not a theist, you're an atheist. That's the narrative.
If you're not a strong affirmative theist.
No, and I've been fighting against that, and I know there's other people fighting against that, and people say, well, why do you fight against it? Well, there's two reasons. One, they're assuming my entire ideological stance and just nullifying it, which is bullshit. And second, well, hang a second, it is factually incorrect. And if you take a narrative that you're going to have the higher moral high ground, and you want to be the person out there putting out correct science and correct factual information, yet you're willing to accept something that is completely untrue, there's a discrepancy in your ideology and discrepancy in your ontology.
I agree, but let me bring that where I was.
Sure.
Where I was going with it, which is, for a lot of us in this community, a lot of us are strong individualists. And when you tell somebody what they are, the immediate response is, don't tell me what I am, you're wrong, even if they're right.
No, I'm not.
Well, and I agree with you, but here's the thing. Let me get this on record. So intellectual idealism, and what you said is exactly true. But would you agree that I'm the one that's been pushing that forever, the top telling people what they are? I'm the one that's telling you what you... I say to people, there are alternative choices. These words are polysemous, and if you want to read a piece of literature and you want to read a peer-reviewed paper and you want to take a college course, these are how these words more often are best understood. You can call yourself whatever you want, but as soon as you use your understanding of things to label somebody else, you're automatically at a disadvantage. So I'm not telling people they're agnostic. I'm telling them, don't tell me what I am when you're completely wrong about it, right? And yet I get shit for that. I'm being prescriptive to that.
I agree.
And
hang on, I want to hear intellectual icon.
From the same position.
What's that?
I've come from the same position, and the reason that I'm going to tie it all up is, if you're trying to get people to break away from herd mind mentality, away from, well, the Bible says, therefore it is, we are not doing ourselves any favors by telling somebody, well, you're just wrong because you factually believe this because I define it that way. That's to go back to Darth Dawkins. That's my problem with them.
Yeah, that's what they do, though. That's what they do.
Therefore, and we're not helping the community.
And what they do intellectual is they're like, well, here's a dictionary. If you can't understand a dictionary, I'm like, look, if you want to talk about second grade stuff, go do that. But our conversations are well past that. Well, what's SEP? Okay, what's IAP? They don't know anything. And then you ask them, what papers have you read? Nothing. I'm like, so you're literally going by a second grade understanding with a dictionary on a topic that you don't even know jack shit about, telling me that I'm wrong is a waste of my time.
Sounds familiar.
But I mean, I'm not talking about you. But it's just a waste of my time to have that kind of denigrated conversation with people who are not even willing to learn the topic properly.
Yeah.
Now, this is the reason why I enjoy following the Steve McRae's Twitter, because this conversation seems to come up every single freaking day, multiple times.
Well, it's funny.
It gets a little much, but
But here's the thing: look, atheists talk about atheism. I talk about agnosticism. I don't understand the difference. We got
agnosticism too.
They're live. They have 800 people watching talking about it.
You see, this is the reason why I identify as a baconist.
I love bacon. I love bacon.
Hey, real quick. Damn it. I was looking at your watching now. You had 69.
I do. Wait, you're not got a bacon, are you, Resist? You don't have that troll account. Wait, Resist, do you have the troll account, got a bacon?
Do I got what?
Is that your alt account, got a bacon?
Oh no, that's not my alt account. No, okay. I don't have an alt. I don't have that alt account. My alt account is just for porn.
Dr. Zaya says Audrey Hepburn, fine as hell, rest in peace, queen. Oh yeah, I'm a huge Audrey Hepburn fan. She was one of the cutest, most attractive women of all time. Huge Audrey Hepburn, gorgeous.
One of my favorite actresses.
She's pretty old now, right?
Audrey Hepburn's dead.
Dead.
That's old.
Oh, yeah, she is kind of old.
She's pretty dead.
I guess she's very old then.
I'm not quite
really
dead yet.
Actors and actresses and movies.
That was funny. I heard that.
Yeah, she died back in the 90s.
Down there with
okay. Wow, that was a while ago.
Yeah.
I've heard that name a lot, though, but I'm not a big movie buff, so I don't really know much about
But here, let me tell you guys, let me ask you guys, when you hear people putting out misinformation, call them on it. I mean, when you hear, and again, I'm going to take this is the hill that I will die on. When an atheist tells you that by definition, if you're not a theist, you're an atheist, tell them to fuck off. Tell them they're full of shit, because they are.
20 years ago.
And show them why they're wrong.
Banned off of Twitter. Don't be giving people that advice.
Because you know what happens? You know what happens, Carrie? You know what happens? If you tell people that in the live chat of some of these groups, they will ban you from the live chat.
Wow. I know.
I've seen it happen. Lucifer Almighty's that happened to him a couple times on a couple different accounts.
You know what the problem is? It's easier for it to be black and white, up or down, left, right. You either are or you aren't. And most people are not the brightest crayons in the box. So it's easier for them to either accept one or the other. And they don't want any middle ground. They don't want to have to learn. They don't want to have to pick up any new information. So it's just you are or you're not.
That's true, but not all of them. I mean, Matt Dillon is a very smart guy. I don't know why this is a sticking point.
Apparently, look at Pig's been looking into that. So
I think he was a pastor for 20 odd years. How intelligent?
And that's why.
Well, you think he still has dogmatic thinking because of that? Because I see a lot of people that I see a lot of ex-Christians that have very dogmatic thinking, because I love the way he argues certain things, right? But on this, he's just fundamentally wrong. I mean, it's not even a matter of you are right or wrong. Let's explain why. It is, you can look at the, hang on, let me finish. You can look at the documentations, you can look at the literature, and you can't just ignore that. You can't just say, well, you know, I have a dictionary. No, it doesn't work that way. And so when he says things like, he criticized me for asking the great debate question. And the great debate question is, does God exist? And I've actually I had somebody tell me the other day that that was a loaded or complex question fallacy. How fucking retarded is that?
What?
No.
That to me is that is dogmatic ideological thinking of the nth degree, to think that asking a question like does God exist is a complex question fallacy. That is absolutely absurd. It's not leading to the question. It is a very fair question to ask. But here's why they don't want it to be answered. Because they want it to be done propositionally. If you answer the question, yes, does God exist? You're a theist. If you answer no, you're automatically a strong atheist. You're an atheist. You have a burden of proof. They don't want atheists to have a burden of proof, which I think is ridiculous. I think that anybody who has these conversations should own their burden of proof and say, yeah, I have a burden of proof. Let me show you why. And I will show you why you're wrong.
I don't have a burden of proof. I've never had one.
You don't even have an argument. No.
Exactly.
I gotta tell you myself personally, I'm kind of over Matt Dillahunty. I mean, you're right. He's intelligent and he can make a good argument. But when I first, started paying attention to this kind of stuff, I was watching the Atheist Experience every week, and I mean, it just got tired after a while. I mean,
I think it's fun. I mean, don't get me wrong, but yeah, I think it's the same old. And I think people are looking for something new. I think they want to hear something different. And the fact that I'm putting out information that goes against the narrative that I can actually demonstrate. And not one of these people have ever said, hey, Steve, I'm going to debate you on this. Not one. Why is that? Oh, because I have references. Why? Because I have citations coming out of my yin yang. What? I can show the logic. But not one of them. If this was any other topic, they'd be like, oh, I'm going to take down Steve. I'm going to debate him. Nope, they won't touch this.
Hey, Steve. I'll debate you on it.
You'll debate me, Riz. You agree with me. It will be very fun.
That's exactly why. I'll just sit over here in the corner of the screen and I'll just listen to you give your points.
No, I want somebody who actually believes this shit, because I will show in real time why they're just it's a really bizarre way of thinking of things.
Hey Steve, I'll Poe for you.
I don't want to Poe. I appreciate that, but I don't want to Poe.
Hey Steve, real quick, I do have a question for you, if you don't mind.
I am not gay, but thank you for asking. You're flattered.
That was going to be my gotcha question, but all right. Okay. Anyway, I just had a quick question about as far as agnosticism and deism is concerned. Sure. Skylar Fiction, isn't that just kind of a form of...
Skylar Fiction is no longer a deist.
Yeah, he was for a long time, right. And I haven't been keeping up with.
There's two ways to look at deism. Mm-hmm. There's what's called the classical theistic approach, which would be deism would fall under non-theism, okay, because it would fall under more along the lines of an atheistic point of view, because theism has a personalized God. That's the classical version. The non-classical version would be that deism falls under theism because it is still a type of God. There is also something else that you may have ever heard of. It's called theistic personalism.
Yeah, I never heard of that one.
welcome to my channel. You get to learn new things. Theistic personalism is very similar to classical theism, except in a personal theistic personalism is that God exists outside of the universe as a great demerge. He sustains the universe rather than be incorporated as integrally part of the universe, as would be the classical theist approach.
Steve.
Yeah, I actually read stuff, so I know it's hard to believe. People don't think that I actually.
So God is the particle cascade at the front of the expanding universe?
There you go. That would be the Higgs field.
Or perhaps he's those big hands that are actually holding the universe together during the Big Bang in the Marvel universe.
Well, I mean, people always say
that's actually what Idiocracy just described is exactly how my brother believes the flat Earth works.
Oh, good grief!
Oh God!
What is Skylar now? He's no longer a deist.
I think he says he's full atheist now.
He says he's atheist, but he'll vacillate between atheist and agnostic depending on the situation. It seems. I mean, I don't want
whatever the
Christianity
term is
in general.
Yeah, exactly. And it's weird too, because I was watching a genetically modified skeptics video, most of it, and his reasoning for why he's an atheist are very good. I think that he's well thought out on these things. He's articulate and he has good reasons, but it's the same reasons why I hold to agnosticism. It's just a different label, and yet I get shit for being agnostic. Yet he has the same reasoning I do.
How dare you not know something, Steve?
I don't understand that though. He literally has a lot of the same reasons as me, and I love genetically modified skeptic, and I don't think he's wrong on anything on this. But he'll call it atheism, knowing that it's philosophical agnosticism. He does know the difference, so I can't fault him. But I'll call it what it is in philosophy, or what is more, termed as, and yet I'll get shit for that because I don't fall in the let's push the agenda of you have to have that label of atheism, or you're not one of the group. You're not doing anything to help the movement, and I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is.
Because I know a lot of people have left theism.
It's really hard.
I know. Wait a second. I know a lot of ex-theists that didn't want, and I've talked to them. They did not want to leave theism because they didn't want to initially take that label of atheist, and the agnostic label gives them a way to do that, and it is fundamentally not flawed. Right? It's not. They're not saying at that point, I believe that they're gods. It's just that they have believed none either way, and that's what agnostic means. So they're consistent, and they feel like limbo. I have a but they think themselves, and it's true. I now have a position that's rational. I now have a position that I can leave theism and not have to become an atheist in my community, and it gives them a transition. And if later on, then they believe there's no gods, or they just want to take the atheist label, they can.
I actually respect people more who will say that they're agnostic. Honestly, because it's like, okay, you're being humble. You're saying you don't know, because that I wouldn't say that's the best argument to go with, because I say there is.
You got to be careful. They don't know. The people confuse the I don't know, which is a form of what's called epistemic doubt, then the epistemological principle, or excuse me, the epistemological proposition. So the expression of doubt, like for example, is this the case? You could say yes or no, or I don't know, right? That is expression that I don't have enough information to really determine one or another. Okay. It's just I'm doubting. I'm not convinced enough to say yes or no. But the epistemological proposition of agnosticism is, are gods knowable? Two different things. And I think
okay. Yep. I see. Okay. Yeah.
Hey, Steve.
Yes.
A couple people were asking me some questions, and it's a lot to type. And I'm not a very good typer, so I just wanted to clarify something. People wanted to know about blood libel in Europe, because I did a series. Somebody said that, I'm claiming Jews eat kids. Here's the thing: if you've ever studied fairy tales like Hansel and Gretel, Little Red Riding Hood, Snow White. The reason Europeans used to tell their children those stories is they wanted to prevent them from wandering off with strangers. And back in that time of Europe, they used to try and keep their children away from certain Jewish sects. And I'm not saying all Jews, I'm saying certain Jewish sects. Now, Saint Agnes, now they say she's a saint because of martyrdom, because she was sacrificed. She was sacrificed. It is a known fact. She was sacrificed to Jews. And any child in Europe, if you see a saint that's a child Okay. Most children, a 7-year-old, if there's a, 7-year-old saint out there, most 7-year-olds haven't accomplished things in their lifetime to be considered saints. But back in that era of Europe, if your child was taken by blood libel from Jews, they called it sacrifice. And the family had a right. If your child was sacrificed to Jews under the blood libel, you had a right to go petition the church to make your child a saint. And that's why Saint Agnes is a saint. And just to clarify, they say that she was ritualistic sacrificed, but it was by Jewish people. They don't say it was by the Catholic Church, because it wasn't by the Catholic Church. They just acknowledged that she was sacrificed and she was a martyr. What 13-year-old child out there deserves to be a martyr and sacrificed?
Yeah, I have no idea. I think you're gonna have to wait till we get Brock.
You do. I went to Catholic school, and they actually taught that stuff in Catholic school. By the way,
I don't know enough about the topic to weigh in. So if a person's out there,
apparently most experts don't either.
Well,
from what I'm already
then they wouldn't be experts if right.
Well, most of the Catholic.
Do you know what she's talking about?
Historians.
Chris is holding his head. I think he's about.
Does Chris know what she's talking about? If anybody's gonna know,
yeah, Chris is going to have more knowledge than me.
Go ahead.
Okay, Chris.
Doing some quick research.
Saint Agnes, she was killed supposedly. We don't know if she existed, but a lot of martyrs didn't exist. But
I can't hear you, hon.
Oh wait, is that better?
Yeah. What happened to your mic? It went to
yeah, we can't hear you.
Mic. You used to have a better mic. What happened?
Oh, it's I'm at school. I'm working with my.
Go ahead.
Okay, Saint Agnes was not sacrificed to Jews.
Yes, she was.
Saint Agnes was according to legend. We don't even know if she existed. Martyrs were invented like the plague because there was a whole martyrdom complex in early Christianity. The whole mythos about her was that she was executed by a prefect, Sempronius, and then or issued via executed, and then she was stabbed in the throat, and in one text, in another one she was beheaded.
Yep.
Well, could be both.
She was not. There is none where she sacrificed to Jews. She was supposedly executed in Rome. I don't know, and I don't know how many of you know about 4th century. She was killed in the early 4th century. I don't know if any of you know. There wasn't a large Jewish population in Rome. There's like none.
No, there was a population.
Well,
it was small. I said
like none.
We need to get like Tim O'Neill. Maybe Tim O'Neill could add some alliteration to that.
Yeah, this is Tim's area.
Yeah, Tim would probably be good at that.
He deals with early Christianity.
Maybe you can tweet out to him later on, Chris.
So are you saying that some of these people were fictional?
Yeah. Saint Christopher, myth. Saint Agnes, probably.
Saint Nick. Well, there was somebody in the kind of this, but his Santa Claus is not real. And by the way, I still have people. I am not even kidding. I still have people that tell me that they refuse to say that they believe that Santa's not real. Let me tell you this, people. If you are over the age of 8 and you cannot say that you believe Santa's not real, you have some fundamental problems in your ontology. fundamental problems.
Hey,
you are a dream crusher.
I'm just going to say, if you guys really think all these martyrs and all that martyrdom was a thing, check out Candida Moss's book, The Myth of Persecution. She details how they were literally inventing martyrs left and right to validate their little narratives.
But hey, real quick, Chris, were you a mythicist as well?
I was. I'm not any longer.
Okay.
The view has Jesus. The figure of Jesus of Nazareth is probably he is the single best attested first century Jew that there is. There's none other that even comes close.
Okay, I was just kind of curious because I knew you'd had a debate or something with someone about that.
Yeah, I debated Godless Engineer on it.
Ah, okay.
Josephus, Tacitus, Josephus, Tacitus. That's all. All that discussion goes to is those two things. That's it.
I believe Jesus was real. He cleans my dishes every week.
No, that's his view.
Oh, Carrie, I don't want to crush your dreams. Am I crushing your dreams, Carrie? Wait a minute. I'm in your
You
nightmares,
said
maybe, but am I
Santa's
crushing your
you
dreams?
said Santa's not real. You said
Oh yeah,
Santa's not real.
well, you know what it is.
How dare you?
I had somebody say that about the tooth fairy. They're like, "Well, how do you know the tooth fairy is not real?" I'm like, "Because I'm not 8."
Even
I
when
mean, do
my
I,
son,
honest to God, have to justify that? I can. Don't get me wrong, and you do have to justify it. But do I have to explain to you how to properly justify something that fucking retardedly simple to do?
I would hope not.
But Steve,
I have seen
three
my
circles.
I have seen my parents buy presents for kids. I have not seen Santa go around the world in a magical sleigh, dumping presents off to people, which is more likely a more justified reason to believe.
Yep, but Steve, he also has like 0.0032 seconds per household. You wouldn't see.
Yeah, I think we did some calculations like near the
I think most people over the age of 10 don't believe in it anyway.
It's ridiculous.
Hey, I remember that guy. Yeah. He was in a chat under one of your videos and was talking. It was Santa Claus.
It's bizarre.
It was crazy as hell.
Well, I'm not going to say that I believe that they don't exist. Well, then you're a fucking moron.
And he also, this guy in this chat is going on to accuse Steve of using multiple logical fallacies.
I love that too. I don't mind.
And y'all are talking about Santa?
I don't mind being accused of a fallacy if I did commit one. The last one I committed, I have to remember it because that's how infrequently it happens. But I didn't double down on it. I went, oh shit, you're right. And they accused me of committing the four-term fallacy. It was the four-term fallacy. So I recognized it as soon as I said it. And I went, shit, you're right. But I am accused of strawmanning and ham and all those other things where they don't even know what these fallacies mean.
I was just going to say they don't even know what the hell they're even talking about. They're just throwing out words they've heard before.
Accused Steve of a straw man, and I answered in the comments thread, yeah, you need to go look up the term straw man because you don't know what the hell it means.
You guys want to know who's been on an argument with me back and forth in the comments the past day and a half? Flat out Hero.
Oh, good grief.
He tagged me and put a bunch of things I commented on one of his on his video with that fake check. And the things that came out of this guy's mouth, Jesus Christ, really?
Alexis actually, you know what? Hang on a second. Alexis asked a really good question, and I want to address it because actually it's a pretty good question. Alexis says, "Is telling kids Santa is real even morally correct?"
Oh, I've asked that before too.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a matter of correct or not. I think it's are we allowed to have kids have an imagination? Are we allowed to have useful fictions in some way? And I don't see that a problem with it. It's a cultural thing, but that's up to the parents. Allow kids to have an imagination as a kid.
By the way, speaking of flat earthers for Ali, have you guys ever met a flat earther by the name of Lemon Bird?
Yes,
yeah.
Lemon Bird.
Oh God,
Lemon Bird is mind-bogglingly dumb.
Oh, it's been so much fun just flipping everything he says.
You do realize he is mental. I think he has mental disability.
I would not be surprised.
I agree, Steve.
Yeah.
Later, Chris.
I've got to go.
Yeah, I got to end this soon too. It's getting near noon. So, Dave, you wanted to? Oh, Dave, he left. Where'd he go? Oh, see, Dave. No, not Dave. See, Damon, what you got for us?
Oh, can you hear me all right?
We can.
Great. I was hoping these headphones worked.
Hello.
Hello.
How's it going, guys? Hey, I just really enjoyed the conversation you've been having for quite some time on this atheist agnostic and the burden of proof.
Lord have mercy.
Well, thank you very much.
So I really just have a question. Honestly, I've been wanting to ask this question to you for quite some time.
Yeah, go ahead.
You basically are saying that the way I understand it is that you're saying that everyone has a burden of proof for whatever claim they're making, which
or not accepting as well.
Excuse me.
Or not accepting. Yeah. See, here's the thing, and I don't know if you read my blog, and I have this broken down in the blog. I didn't add this in it, and I probably should. I might have do an addendum to it. I do change my blogs occasionally, but there's something called a normal reasoner, and normal reasoner in dostastic logic means that if you believe something, that you believe it. It's kind of like the KK principle. If you know something, you know it. But the normal reasoner in dostastic logic is if I hold that P is true, and then I believe that P is true. And so that is what's called a normal reasoner. I've talked to some logic experts, including people that are studied in what's called Hintinka form of dostastic logic, and they seem to agree that can actually equal to be applied in the negative case, that if you believe that you don't believe a particular proposition, that you still have a belief of that. It's a second order belief. So I believe that I do not believe P is true, and I believe that I do not believe P is false. Any kind of belief requires reasons, requires a justificatory condition.
Sure.
Oh, regardless of where it goes, absolutely.
Most of them, not all of them. There are some exceptions. So,
Steve, you did have one exception where someone doesn't have a burden of proof, and that's someone who's just genuinely ignorant of the case.
Well, that's why I added just afterwards. There are some exceptions.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
A couple exceptions would be in the case that you're not presented with the proposition, right? Then you're innocent on that.
Yeah.
And another case would be what you have what's called a properly basic belief, where it's non-justifiable, non-didastically, and non-inferentially justifiable. You have to accept these things as a faith-based commitment, and you have to accept them without justification. Or I mean, there are some externalist views out there that you can justify them. I know Ozzy and I go back and forth on it. I've read people arguing that you can justify it. I don't think that you can. I think that they are irrational. I don't think they're rational beliefs or irrational. I think they're irrational things that are taken axiomatic, at least from a foundationalist position. But that's a philosophy, right? That's how you want to look at it. You don't have to be a foundationalist. You can be a coherentist. You can be a infinitist. You can be a reformed epistemologist. There's so many different positions you can be. There's no one size fits all. I only look for people who are consistent in their ontology.
And let's not forget Baconist.
And a Baconist. Baconist
is very important.
So you see what I mean, Damon, though? So yeah, whatever position you have, there's reasons for it. And there's certain things that if you say, well, I don't believe you. And I say, wait a minute. So I exist. And you say, well, you don't believe me. I'm going to look at you as pretty irrational, right? So you need to justify why you don't believe me to have a normal dialogue, I think, with people. And I think that a lot of people are upset by that. I think they've been told for so long that, oh, well, if you just say you're a lack of belief atheist, you don't have a burden of proof. Well, first of all, I'm arguing that you do, even though it's kind of trivial and a second order. But at the same time, I also argue, and this is purely opinion, that I think it's better to argue against a theist as owning a burden of proof and showing them where they're wrong, rather than just saying, I don't believe you, I don't believe you, I don't believe you, I'm not convinced, I don't believe you. Any idiot can do that.
Sure.
I don't believe you.
So I don't believe you.
I find myself agreeing with you on almost everything. The thing that I have a hard time committing to is to saying that a rejection of any claim requires some burden of proof. So if I say, pink elephants will fly out of my ass tomorrow, you know what I mean? Why do you have to have any kind of burden of proof to say, I don't believe that?
Okay, first of all, let me explain why. And by the way, somebody asked, would that cause you an infinite regress? Yes, it will, actually. And I addressed that in my blog. The problem with it is called the dilemma of inferential justification. It's a well-known problem in epistemology. Yeah. You can appeal to foundationalism, or I appeal to what's called infinitism to resolve that. But just having an infinite regress is not a deal breaker. There's nothing illogical about it. So that goes to a well-known problem. My argument doesn't matter to my argument, because any argument you have when it comes to the inferential justification conditions is going to lead to an infinite regress. But anyway, so what you're saying,
hey, goodbye, everybody. I got to go.
All right, later, John. So the flying out of your ass kind of stuff. Look, it is trivial to justify, and that's why you just accept it. Yes, look I know about biology. I know that it is a physical impossibility for these things to fly out of your ass. I have to have evidence by which I need to change my opinion, which I am convinced that is the case. I do not have that. So it is parsimonious for me to even say, and I don't mean that in the way as these are actual hypotheses, but I literally have no reasons to believe what you're saying. There is nothing to convince me to do so. It is called evidential agnosticism. This is a perfectly fine condition to have a justification for that. How is that hard to even have? You do it, you're done, boom, there it is. What it does, Damon, is I hear theists all the time say, look, atheists are constantly trying to avoid their burden of proof. Well, here, now they can't be charged with that. It alleviates that. They're like, well, yeah, here's my burden of proof, and here's the done. You're game over. Yeah, now a theist has one less quiver in their arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, I find it ridiculous that you don't have any burden of proof. I just think that it's just sort of a trivial point to me.
It is.
Like, if somebody says, I believe in God, right, then I go, well, where's God? What do you got?
Well, I mean, there's two things at play, though. Are they trying to persuade you, or are they just doing a self-assessment or an autobiographical?
Right, but I'm saying, like, I don't need very much. I don't have very much of a burden of proof to sort of say, well, I'm sorry, I don't
no,
see
not really.
God. So,
no, I agree with you. But I mean, but they don't have much of a burden of proof for you either. If they're not trying to convince you of anything and they're just doing an autobiographical assessment of themselves, then they have no burden of proof to you. They have it to themselves. They don't have a burden of persuasion. And I think a lot of atheists play on that. I see a lot of dishonest atheists going, "Oh, well, the theist has to convince me. Oh, the theist has to convince me. The work has already been done. The atheist has already made their case. All of them." No, it doesn't work like that. It's not a scientific consensus.
Well, in a way that I think on most God claims, I think the atheist burden of proof has already been met just by sheer the existence of no evidence.
What's the burden of proof that gods don't exist?
Sorry to interrupt. I just want to let you know, Steve, I got a notification. Modern Day Debate is live if you want to jump in.
Yeah, I was waiting for his. I didn't get anything from him.
All right.
So I'm
Get
just,
the fuck out,
Hey,
Steve.
since you took a moment, I'm gonna go ahead and go because I'm starving. It's 8:00 at night here right now. So, but thanks for having me. It was so.
I'm gonna head over to
everybody.
Modern Day anyways and jump in maybe, unless it's already started. I don't know, but
Yeah,
I got to
it
get
was
some of my
fun.
system too. This coffee's not agreeing with me, and I got.
Later.
So, anyways, guys, thanks again. I know like we don't have the biggest crowd on Sundays because so many other things are going on. So the fact that you guys come over and hang out here and watch this on Sundays, I do appreciate it. It's not like a Friday night where we have like rum and coke where we have hundreds of people getting drunk, which are fun. And since it's just good, you're more than welcome to drop by on a rum and coke night. They're a lot bigger than the Sunday things. Trust me. And a lot more fun. We mess with fun.
This was fun because it gave us a chance to really kind of feel some things out before getting drunk and getting nasty.
I try to do it every Sunday, just simple Q&A kind of stuff. And every time I do, it seems like there's still people asking a lot of questions. So I'm really happy for that. So people like Damon and who I don't think I've seen before coming in and asking. Because again, I get misrepresented a lot. If you were to hear my arguments, what they think are my arguments from people like Matt Dillahunty or by a few other people, they'd be like, "Yeah, Steve is an idiot," and I would agree. No. I'm like, wait, what he's saying is not what I believe, but they have a really distorted version of it. Like I hear the argument all the time that Steve is prescriptively telling people that they have to use a very specific definition. Bullshit and bullshit. I never will. That is not the argument. Never has been. And anybody who's ever watched my channel for the last couple of years will know that. But they don't do that. They haven't done that. So they're just getting these second, third, and fourth descriptions of my argument, right? And of course, they can't have the burden of proof one. They just cannot have that one, even though it's epistemologically sound. Can't have it. Atheists don't have a burden of proof.
All they have to do is just, ask you what your position is, and you'll happily tell them. That's how I figured out what your position.
I think the problem though is people don't understand burden of proof just means your personal justification.
Yes.
In this context, they think that you're saying justify your beliefs or they're invalid, and it's not.
And prove it.
How did you?
They prove it. They literally think it means to prove something. Look at.
Yeah, it's burden of justification.
I will say this again, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it again. Burden of proof, burden of justification, and burden of evidence are indistinguishable from each other. They mean the exact same thing. I had this conversation with numerous PhDs and other people that are experts in these fields. Not one of them could come up with a distinction. They all say they're the exact same thing, and I happen to agree with them. So if somebody can tell me a distinction in epistemology of them, I would love for them to do so. Now, if you're talking about legal, that's a different story. There's something called the burden of persuasion and burden of production in legalese. The burden of production is the amount of burden you need to bring something forward to have charges, and the burden of persuasion is enough to convince the jury. Those are evidential. Those are not epistemological. But other than that, in epistemology, these are synonymous terms. And I will tell you, yeah, I tend to use burden of proof because it triggers people. I'm not going to deny that. Because if they don't understand the topic well enough to know that a burden of proof means burden of justification, I want them to ask me about it. So I don't mind they get a little triggered because then I can explain to them properly. I like burden of trap.
You lay the trap for him so you can catch him off guard.
Yeah, burden of proof is not misleading. This goes back to what's called Sextus Empiricus back in the 2nd century. He had what's called the problem of the criterion, and so he was formulating these things to be rational, and so it was the burden of proof. But this means onus probandi. But burden of justification, I wish would go to that. Yes, I think that is a better way to describe it and less confusing. But until atheists get rid of the burden of proof that they're using, until they start changing it, I'm going to use what they say, right?
The burden of Steve.
The burden of Steve.
It's kind of a reaction to, if a theist makes a claim that's doesn't have much evidence or is kind of ridiculous, that it's a knee-jerk reaction for the atheist to say, that they have some sort of burden of proof, that they have to take that claim seriously.
Well, but that is your justification. You here's the thing. Look at if you tell me something that is so absurd and you don't want to do what's called argument to the stone, which is by a fallacious argument where you say something is absurd, right? It's argumentium de lapis, I think it's pronounced. You don't want to do that. What you want to say is, your argument is nonsensical. Let me explain to you why your argument is nonsensical and be done with it. It doesn't require a lot of exposition on that, right? I mean, if you tell me that there's a square circle and I say, okay, why don't you show me what a square circle looks like? And you say, well, I can't. Then you can apply Hitchens razor very easily. I have no issue with that. Because you know what the chances of somebody providing you a square circle is? 0.
But Steve,
but I have a circle here with the.
And I'm not talking about taxi cab math. And any of you idiots out there that want to I shouldn't say that because you know about taxi cab math.
I think I can imagine a square circle. You got yourself a circle that's wearing those glasses that has the tape around the center, and it's got a pocket protector, and it's
square.
Yeah.
Exactly.
See, that circle is perfectly square.
No, and by the way, they're definitely not idiots. What it is there's a lot of pendants out there. People call me pendant, and I'm not. I've seen pendants that will get so myopic, but what it does is it actually changes the whole semantic things of what a square circle is. But there is a type of math out there where you can have something like a square circle. It's called taxicab.
I was gonna say non-Euclidean.
No, it's called taxicab math. I know you're into math, but have you heard of taxicab math?
No, actually, I haven't.
Very,
this first time.
very fringe.
But I'll look it up here.
Yeah. Check it out. Let me know because I know you like math.
Yeah, I like digital math, but hooray for Boolean.
We shouldn't judge the square circles. After all, it is pipped to be square.
It is. Listen to the news. Well, I mean,
taxi
for example, Issa, when I say something along the lines of by definition, I tended to use mathematical. Like by definition, a triangle has 3 sides, and somebody will eventually come along and say, "Well, that's only true to Euclidean." Well, yes, but I don't have to say that because of what's called markedness in mathematics, where you're assuming that you're going to be talking about non-Euclidean geometry, right? So you have to actually go out of your way to say. So you really have to go out of your way to say that you're assuming Euclidean, and you have to go out of your way to say non-Euclidean. So in Euclidean space, a triangle is defined as a polygon with 3 sides with angles internal that equal 180 degrees, right? Yes. But we kind of have abbreviation for that, right? I mean, we kind of just say because of discourse, a triangle has 3 sides, right? It's just a shortened version of what we already understand these things to mean. And I have people that are so pendant that are just going, "Oh, well, you have to give the whole definition every time." No, it's like, we're not in 2nd grade. We know what we mean by these things.
Well, the only time I ask for the whole definition is when I foresee that becoming an issue.
Yeah, if they don't understand, you can have greater than 180 and non-Euclidean. Sure, that's called a spherical defect. I believe that's the term.
Yeah, it gets really, really funky. Me and Landon were helping. I think it was Pig out the other night doing that stuff.
Oh, good luck with that.
Yeah. Oh God. It was.
People don't know how valuable Landon's time really is. I mean, he's a busy dude, and he's one of the smartest guys on the planet. To waste it on that, it seems silly to me. I don't know.
Well, I think
people don't know how smart that guy really is.
I think Pig finally learned something that night. So the effort was well worth it.
If he wants to learn, then great. Then I can't.
He's one of the people I talk to the most of everybody.
Yeah, no. If he wants to learn, that's fine. But I will tell you,
I think we've actually talked a lot there on Pig's server, haven't we?
Allie, I think he's talking to you.
Allie. Oh God, I think my connection's taking a shit.
No, you're fine. It's hers. But anyways, like I said, I'm going to bring this to a close. Sister, I appreciate you coming in anytime.
Thank you. I appreciate you for the open mic for a different type of atheist out there.
I'm not an atheist though.
No, for me.
Oh, for you.
I'm the different type.
Go back to square one.
No, sister, you should have left it there. It just annoyed the piss out of him as he closed this out. Because he would have gone on a tirade and couldn't close it out.
You know what's funny, and I'll be honest, I really don't really give a shit what somebody calls me as much as I find it hypocritical is when they basically do it dogmatically, like it has to be the case. And so I'm really doing it as exercise to show people that their rationality is flawed more than anything else. Yeah, I don't give a fuck what people call me. I know what I am. But
so you are an atheist then.
Well, you can call me that. I mean, it's not like I'm gonna go, oh my God, they call me a theist. I don't really get upset by that.
Do you believe in God?
I do. No. Well, of course not. I'm an agnostic. Agnostics don't believe in God.
You could say whatever you want then.
Yeah, there you go. Well, and it's not the funniest thing. Look, if everybody's on the same page or they don't have a God belief and they think that things like young earth creationism is bullshit, then I don't really give a fuck what they label themselves. Why they should care what I label myself. But they do. You can't be agnostic, Steve. You can't be that. You're not that. No, there's no such thing. It's two positions. I'm like, you're an idiot. Go away.
Sort of gravitas.
It can't be real.
You lack some sort of commitment.
But the weak atheists are in the same boat. That's what I find the most hysterical thing in the world. If you're a weak atheist, if you're just saying I just lack a belief, you are a fucking agnostic. Logically, there's no difference. This is none. It's just epistemic differences.
I don't leave room for a God existing. I don't think that there can be one. So
there's what?
I don't leave any room for a God existing. So I consider myself to be an atheist.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, you're probably a naturalist too.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah, if you're a naturalist, it entails you have to be an atheist. You cannot be an ontological naturalist and not be an atheist and say that you have a consistent framework, at least. Yeah, but anyways, these are fun. They're a little bit draining. I got to tell you. I get animated.
This one got really loopy there.
This was different.
Is Cunty Hoven going to be in?
Cunty Hoven will be there at 7:00 tonight Eastern. Yes.
Yeah, definitely will. This time.
People actually show
Definitely.
up.
Yes.
Didn't one time he come in and leave and then end up going on his own channel?
I'm just a little bit concerned. Well, he's streaming from his channel as well, but I'm a little concerned about Estevan, who we had on last night, who's going to be engaging with him. I don't know if he's the heavy hitter to really go against Kent. And
but they've done it in the past, right? It's something that he's not
with Kent. I've gone against Kent. I mean, I've obliterated Kent. I actually got Kent to admit that two of his arguments were wrong, which I don't think anybody's ever been able to do in the history.
Wow, that's an accomplishment, seriously.
Of Hovianism. So yeah.
Is he still holding to the position that those arguments are wrong, or is he still using them?
No, he has said he stopped using them. However, they're still on his DVDs. But I asked him, I don't know, a month or two on the Modern Day Debates channel from the live chat if he still does not use them. He says he does not, but I could take that with a grain of salt. When he goes to his little churches, he probably still uses them. So I don't believe him. Yeah. But he has admitted on air that he agrees that they probably should not be used as arguments anymore because even he couldn't see, or he was able to see that it was fraudulent what he was saying. I showed him in no uncertain terms with the actual sources that he used that he was wrong.
It's sad it took that long for him to get to that point that you had to point that out.
This was 2015.
Wow!
He said the points were fraudulent.
I'm saying that they were basically they had the citations he used did not have what he claimed to have in it, but he says he got them from ICR, which means that he didn't do his due diligence. So he didn't check out the claims. Yeah. And so what happened was when he came up with this book in 2008 called Arrival of the Fittest, which was the Creationist Handbook or Notebook, 9th edition, they didn't have the internet the way it does today, right? They didn't have the ability to find this type of documentation. Well, I actually found the original citation, which was the Quaternary Stratigraphic and Unglaciated Central Alaska paper technical bulletin 683, I believe. Try that by memory. And showed him in it that it was not what he said it was, and he had to agree that it wasn't there. So, and what was in there actually refuted another one of his other arguments. So there was two arguments by the same thing that showed that he was wrong. Yeah.
Good. It's about time to put him in his place.
So he was quote running for those sources.
Happening every time he comes on NodSec, he gets put in his place.
Oh yeah. Oh, he's not a fan of me. Trust me.
Put in place though. This is a professional way. The other ways are just like it's too easy sometimes.
I'm a beast when I get down to it. When I'm really going after people. There's one debate that unfortunately got deleted. I don't know how they said accidentally. It really pissed me off. But I had a debate with somebody where the guy literally left just before the Q&A. He literally he couldn't handle anymore. And he had bugged me for a year to have a debate with me. I brought two presentations. I explained to him turbine theory and ATP theory. He didn't know anything about the topic, and he was supposed to be the go-to guy for the creationist stuff. He was inept, he was incompetent, and he literally said, and this is his words, "I don't want to continue with this."
Wow. At least he was honest.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, he was honest because he got his ass handed to them. And anybody who's watched that debate, they know what I'm talking about. And that debate was well watched, but unfortunately got deleted. So you just have to take my word for that. But the people that have watched it remember him saying exactly those words. I don't want to continue.
I actually expected more people to do that, because there's sometimes where you really get the truth out and disprove everything that comes out, especially a flat earther's mouth. You expect them to say, you know what, I need to throw in the towel, I need to leave. I have some pride and I don't want this person to walk. Flat earthers and they don't leave. They just stick with the bullshit. I'm like, oh my God, they're making themselves complete and utter moron.
Well, the first debate I did, I don't know if you ever saw it, but it was a guy named Wayne Fillmore.
I don't know. I don't think I've seen that one.
And he comes on the non-sequitur so often, but he used to be a young creationist, and he left. He left Young Earth a month after our debate. He realized I was right about macroevolution. And way back then, that's how I started making a name for myself, because I was making an influence. I was changing the positions of people. I had another guy named Hunter Bailey, who used to be a Young Earth creationist. Jim knows him pretty well. You remember Hunter?
Yeah.
Yeah. He used to be a Young Earth creationist. And do you know how I met him?
How?
He said, hey, dude, you want to talk about, your stuff. I have a younger creationist friend of mine and we will obliterate you, kind of thing. I said, really? And this guy's name is Soldier for Christ. And I went in there and I destroyed this guy. And Hunter said, oh shit, maybe I don't know this as well as I think I do. He looked into it and he left it as well. So
did he just rage quit, or did he actually say, sorry guys, I'm just not informed and haven't?
Oh, no. Soldier for Christ kicked me off after I demonstrated conclusively that he was a moronic idiot. And
of course. He couldn't handle the truth.
He couldn't handle it. And Hunter got pissed at that. He's like, why'd you kick him? What was up with that? He wasn't being argumentative. He wasn't being demeaning. He was showing you the evidence of what you wanted. And it seemed to make sense.
That's probably the reason why he kicked you off.
Right. But Hunter was not stupid. Hunter was a smart guy. This was years and years ago. And so Hunter's in college now. He wasn't at the time, but he's in college now. He's learning theological studies. But he's not young with creationists anymore. He recognized that was not the position to have.
You got him so messed up there that he ended up going back to school to relearn everything he's screwed up.
That's okay. I'm okay with that.
I find this is what happens when you have someone who's well informed with the truth going up against someone who's just plain wrong.
Yeah, big difference.
Well, I got to admit, though, when it comes to flat earth and young creationism, all you got to do is just really know a little bit of material. These guys kind of refute themselves.
Heck,
let them talk.
Most of my studies have gone much further in the form of biology and science outside of high school and whatever I self-studied. And I can tell these people, no, the earth isn't flat and the universe is far older than 6,000 years old.
Oh, you want to hear something great? I get some internet channels on my television, and I woke up this morning about 10 o'clock, and there's a channel called ACR Exhibit. I forgot what it's called. And there was a guy, some scientist, talking about flat Earth. And they had D Marble's video for 20 seconds on my TV making fun of him, basically, on public television.
That's good. I think, you know what? I know I'm going to accept this as a possible hypocritical statement. I even I have to realize that we all could be irrational sometimes, and you just have to accept where your rationality lies. I get that. I think to be rational, you have to accept some form of irrational, because nobody can be 100% rational. But
of course.
So this is my form of hypocrisy that I accept, and I bite the bullet on it. I don't like seeing people mock theists, but I do think there are some positions that are so egregious that the only way you will be able to either get through to that person or prevent people from having that position is sheer mockery. Flat Earth.
Yeah.
The power of public pressure of being embarrassed is a very strong motivator to get someone to reevaluate their position. So it does serve its purpose.
I mean, the gentleman was kind. He wasn't rude. They weren't making fun of him, but he was like, we just don't understand how people believe this, blah, blah. Played a clip and I saw the name at the bottom. I was like, oh my God. I know this person on TV, regular TV.
Yeah, but I mean, do you see that? I mean, people might be able to call me out for hypocrisy. They're like, well, you mock people, you don't mock, but you kind of get down on people for mocking theism. I'm like, yeah, but that's not one of those things where it's like a pressure where theism we know to be the case, right? Or not know the case.
It's a little different.
We know the earth is not flat. We know it. It's not a question of if. It's not a question of maybe. It is not flat. You're an idiot if you think you're a flat or both.
It's not an opinion-based subject. You're doing it on things that are scientifically proven fact.
Right.
There's no other option other than yes.
What is dumber than a flat earther, Jim? I mean, really, if you think about it, there's not much, if anything.
Not much. Yeah.
People can argue anti-vaxxers.
I would say that a young Earth creationist is dumber. I would
really.
say.
I see. I don't think so. Let me give you my argument why.
I don't either.
The reason being is young Earth creationism. These creationists can make things sound plausible to the point where a believer who already is susceptible to believing whatever, they might make an argument to themselves. Flat Earth, you just have to be straight out disingenuous. Straight out.
They can only use the Bible, though.
I can see where Jim's coming from.
Maybe
I don't consider them very smart, much smarter than some young Earth creationists. But if you're going out and actually trying to do science with it, I already consider you a tier above.
Yeah, well, how many PhD flat earthers are there? None that I've ever seen.
Yeah, I understand that.
That doesn't exist.
But when they're actually going out trying to, do the geometry of angles and whatnot, of where the sun is,
angles don't exist.
I literally I give them more credit than people who just sit on the internet all day and cry that there's a conspiracy.
I guess I'm going to keep this open a little bit longer. I guess they're doing their own shtick. He didn't give me a link, so whatever. So Ben had a question to ask on one of my favorite subjects: modal ontological possible worlds. Yes,
that's intense.
I'm finding that it's also a favorite of mine.
Then you ever heard of Dr. Graham Priest?
Yeah, he's the one that you're going to get on for that entire talk. Yeah, I'm super hyped to have him on.
He's one of the leading experts on modal realism and logic. Yeah. I reach out. People, it's amazing how many people that I can actually get to come on. I'm really surprised. They watch a little bit and they're like, "Oh, this looks cool." So yeah. So what's your question, Ben?
So I kind of I wanted to talk a little bit about the.
You're already really wrong. You're just wrong.
You've already assumed Steve is real. You're very much wrong.
Opinions and such.
You're sorry.
No, I wanted to talk a little bit about the distinction between a possible world with regards to like the philosophical definitions that I've already heard from, I think it was probably 2 weeks ago or something, whenever you were talking about it before, and like multiverse theory, how that kind of isn't intersectional.
Right, they're different things altogether. Okay, so you want to know the difference. Okay, so a multiverse theory is based upon things like M theory and string theory. These are actually universes. Okay, then you have what's called one reality, or one universe that encapsulates all the other sub-universes or they could be different realities of some kind, but they're still in the same multiverse. A possible world is a world of counterfactuals. It would be a hypothetical what would have been the case had the world been different by something changing. So these are possible worlds by just meaning that if something is logically possible, it will exist in some possible world. Doesn't mean these possible worlds actually exist unless you're what's called a moral realist, which I'm not. But a moral realist will argue that there's an actual ontology involved. There's reasons for that, very similar to mathematical Platonism, but I'm not convinced by those arguments. I'm a nominalist for the most part, but these worlds are just possibilities. They're just possible worlds because they're logically possible. So if something is logically impossible, like a square circle, it cannot exist in any possible world. If it's a metaphysical necessity, it must exist in all possible worlds.
So I think, go ahead.
Okay, so universe where G-Man actually makes sense is one of the impossible worlds. Yeah,
it's definitely not possible in any possible world.
Yeah.
So I think maybe the thing that maybe it makes sense if you look at it on paper like that, but there's some things that a little further down the line when I start thinking about that can get me really confused. So let's just limit our multiverse to like 3 universes, okay? You have like one universe that has our universe, let's say, and then one that has, plus 0.1 to the gravitational constant, and then minus 0.1 to the gravitational constant.
Well, wait, we want to talk about multiverses? Or you want to talk about possible worlds? Because again, they're distinctly different.
Both. So under these 3 different universes, they all have logical, like, possible worlds unto them. Universe 1 can have possible worlds for G-Man being smart, which is impossible.
That's impossible.
We've already established that's impossible.
Well, the reality, the way they look. Allie, you're eating your mic. I mean, if you want some breakfast, we can wait.
Is it making noise?
Oh yeah.
On my phone. Here, let me mute it. I mute it. See if that helps at all.
All right. So when the way you look at the world, when they say the world, that means all universes and all multiverses. That's including everything. So a possible world is called spatio-temporally locked or isolated.
Yes.
So there's uses of why we use possible worlds, but everything in the space-time continuum, everything that's existing in any kind of multiverse is one reality in this regard. In this case, when you're looking at possible world theory, it's one big reality.
So I thought each universe had its own reality for the multi.
Again, when we're talking about possible worlds, it's a single world that exists. The entire multiverse would exist in that single world.
Oh, okay,
that's the part that doesn't jive with me. Yeah, that's the part that doesn't jive with me because when I think about I mean, I'm a big fan of sci-fi. I've seen tons of different time travel plots and tons of different multiverse, like ham-fisted dimensional alien nonsenses.
Yes,
I'm trying to get your philosophy.
They call science fiction fiction.
Well, there are so many useful fictions, though. Steve.
Yes, this is true. I'm a big fan of useful fictions.
I really watch that sci-fi stuff unless it's based on something that's actual or probable. I don't really watch the sci-fi stuff much.
Well, let me give you an example of why we have possible worlds, Ben. Maybe it might solve your issue there. And by the way, if you got a TV on, whoever's got the TV on, it's really coming through.
But see, Damon's trying to show us the dog.
Oh, how cute.
Dogs.
Okay, believe it or not, possible worlds, and this is going to be really difficult to explain because I haven't looked in a while, but possible world theory, there's used in epistemology. And you might think, what the hell does possible worlds have to do with epistemology? Huge, right? You're familiar with justified true belief, right?
Yeah. So nowhere near as much as you are, I'm sure, but yeah.
Okay, well, justified true belief is just one basic way of looking at knowledge. It consists of three things: that the proposition is true, the subject believes the proposition is true, and that the S is justified to believe it. Okay. Yes. There's a problem with these things that you're familiar with. I'm sure you've talked about them before, called the Gettier problems. You familiar with those?
Not super familiar, no.
Really? Okay.
Maybe. I've never heard that either.
I might be talking.
I'm just going to share porn now.
Delicious.
That's asexual.
Oh, that's adorable. That does look like him.
That is very true.
That's cute.
Okay, so Gettier problems basically will be instances where we thought they had knowledge, but they really didn't.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, I'm familiar with that on several fronts with regards to the different, like, people who believe in young earth creationism kind of things and all that. We had a Calvinist in the non-sect Discord who was just fundamentally unable to comprehend an alternate perspective on anything. So
it's a little more in-depth than that, but basically a Gettier problem would be, I can relate them, but I don't want to get that far into it. But Gettier problem is just showing there are instances where a person thought they had knowledge where they didn't. Okay. And one of the ways they'll fix that, and it doesn't really completely fix it, as a doctor named Linda Zabaski, I think that's her name, pointed out, there's something called sensitivity, which is a truth tracking condition. Now, anybody who's had epistemology would probably be able to explain this much better than I can, and people who haven't had it will have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. But the way sensitivity would be working is if in the next possible world closest to us, the subject would have believed to be true, given the state that it is true, then it has a truth tracking function such that if it was the case where it wasn't exactly the case of a Gettier problem, it would still be considered a knowledge. Now, I'd probably butcher that to an actual epistemologist because it's very difficult to explain sensitivity, but it is something relating to possible worlds with the next closest possible world to us. It's that and what's called safety. Sosa has these terminology, and Sosa is not an easy read. Sosa. But if you want to look in possible world theory, look into sensitivity and truth tracking conditions for justified true belief. So there are reasons why we have these possible world semantics. They're not just what ifs. They're not just counterfactuals. They're like what use do they have? Well, in this case, this would be telling somebody that they are justified to have knowledge, giving these conditions any possible world. That's some deep shit.
That's very deep.
And by the way, I haven't looked at any of this. I'm not Googling anything. I'm just sitting back having my coffee. So, I mean, this is off the top of my head.
Half
So
the things you say blows my mind. I'm like, you can tell he's not reading a script. He actually knows word for word this equation. It's very impressive, to be honest.
Whenever I hear ontology, I just instantly, oh.
There's a difference between rote memorization and conceptual understanding, and I try to do the latter.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when I watch your calculus. I watch a lot of those.
Oh, you watch my calculus stuff? Really?
Oh my! I'm taking a quantum mechanics class, and I need a little bit more help with math. So I've been watching your math.
Sexy. Nice.
I love it. And
so wait, let me ask you. So you've watched my calculus things for 25 years of being out of math. I didn't think I did a too bad job on those.
I've heard you correct others that were on with you that were currently in the field, and you corrected them.
Or at least challenged them.
Oh, no, you corrected them. I remember there was one where you were doing something on the screen, you were screen sharing, and he had to ask you if something was right, and you had to like refix something with one of the numbers. And I saw your vectors one the other day and stuff. Yeah. I watched the
the thing about math is, like, for example, like when I had one presentation and I had Landon on or something like that, Landon noted something that was incorrect, but as soon as he said it, I recognized it and I fixed it. That's conceptualization. That's not rote memorization, right? Because somebody says, "Hey, Steve, see the thing that you made a mistake there?" Oh, yeah, of course I did. And I fixed it. There was no doubling down. There was not going, "Hey, you're wrong." It was, "Oh, it's math." Yes, of course. I understood it well enough to go, I made it a typo in this, right? And I just fixed it.
That's usually what it is. It's something that just,
very simple. It wasn't a conceptual error. It wasn't that I didn't know the topic. It's just I put it on the paper wrong. Oh, I know what you're talking about.
All that is
Landon had an incorrect notation one time too, and I corrected his notation because he was just writing it fast on a blackboard. Maybe that's what you're thinking of.
I think that's part of the problem with our public school systems right now is they force so much on rote memorization instead of actually conceptual understanding of the subject.
Right.
You want to make fun of me, Steve? I take notes while I'm watching it, and I took notes.
Love it.
I'm trying to find which one it was I'm talking about. It wasn't eigenstates.
Eigenstates? Oh, yeah. Eigenvalues and eigenstates. Those are for transformation.
Yeah, that was what I'm learning in school. I was learning in my class a little while ago.
Well, here's the thing. First of all, because Brockett notation?
Yes, that's what it was. That's what it was about. Yes, the bras and the kets. Yes, that was the one I was taking notes on.
We like talking about bras, and kets are cool too. Yeah. So if you're taking quantum, you're going to be learning something in Brockett notation, and you also learn what's called complex conjugates.
That's what I was watching. That was the video you had. I was watching.
Yeah, I've done stuff on complex conjugates before.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, these are not just things that you have rote memorization of. These things are concepts you really have to understand. And I'm going to do a full video on that, I think, one of these days, because I was talking about complex conjugates to a guy one time who said he was studying quantum mechanics for 13 years and he didn't know what a complex conjugate was. I'm like, he's
probably studying just like the science.
No, he just was lying off his ass.
Yeah.
That's like saying I'm studying biology, but I don't know what DNA is. I'm studying genetics for the last 13 years. You ask me what DNA is, and you go, "Oh, I don't know what's that."
What does the D stand for? I'm not sure.
Yeah, you have to understand what a complex conjugate is, and you have to understand what an imaginary number is, or you're not going to understand quantum mechanics.
When you have
but that's funny you mentioned that because that's the exact video I'm talking about.
Yeah. I know what eigenvalues and eigenstates are in matrix theory. I took matrix.
And the M and the MIJ and the transverse and stuff. Yep. That's the video I was talking about. They did the matrices and stuff.
Yeah, because you normally you're dealing with J, I, K, and these are all different types of matrix. So when you look at a very complex matrix theory, you're dealing with multiple states and you're dealing with three-dimensional vectors. And so when you do a transformation, you literally are doing a transform and you're working with multiple spatial and even temporal things sometimes. That's very confusing in these eigenstates.
You explained it great. I understood everything that was going on. You and there was another guy with you in part of it where you guys really explained it well. And that's why I liked your video more than the other ones I looked up, because you broke it down. You didn't dumb it down to the point where like a 12-year-old would understand, but like right at the level where the average person should understand.
That's what I do in all my videos.
Yeah, and it's appreciative because a lot of people, because you know all this knowledge, you understand what's going on, and when you teach someone else, you don't know what their level is. So you're assuming
people think I'm stupid sometimes. That's what I find weird, Al. Let me ask you. I have a lot of people in the atheist community that are, in my opinion, I think their abilities overproject on from their actual abilities. I think they're over. They think that they know a lot about these topics.
I like the Dunning-Kruger thing, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not somebody who says I know a lot about these topics. I will tell you what my limit is. You know, I even say this is the extent of my knowledge on it. Go talk to somebody. But I do talk about things a lot of other people don't talk about, and yet a lot of people just think I'm for some reason stupid, and I'm like, I don't know why they.
You know what it is? It's either a jealousy thing, or they just can't understand why they cannot grasp the concept, and it goes back to their animalistic properties inside. No, you're not. You're in. You know, it's a childish thing. It's really just a rebellious thing.
But then they say, oh well, Steve just cites. Steve just has appeal to authority with PhDs, and I find that to be strange because if you cite somebody that agrees with you, that happens to be an expert in the field, that's called a citation. You do it all the time. Why are they upset that people that have PhDs, and I know a lot of them, none of them are sitting there going, Steve, you're an idiot. I've never had a PhD say that I'm inept in any topic.
They wouldn't anyway, because that's not the proper way to address someone. It's rude. And most people that have PhDs tend to not act like animals like that.
Sure, but at the same time, the experts are in agreement with me. And yet when I say that, then I'm appealing to authority. And so the fuck what? I don't understand that. I can appeal to Kant. I can appeal to
you know what it is?
Hume. But I can't appeal to a modern.
I'm surprised when you aren't doing that. They're not calling you like an appeal to popularity or something.
They do.
Well, that's basically what they're
all
saying.
The time. So
okay.
I asked them. I swear to you, I'm trying to recall the last time I've ever heard an atheist cite an actual peer review paper.
Well, I'm telling you, that's their only argument. They can't say you're you don't know what you're talking about, because that's not true. They can't say you're an idiot. How dare you have blue eyes? Like, that's their only thing they can go on, is saying you agree with yada yada yada.
But what's wrong with that?
Nothing else bad for them to say, so they're just picking the only thing that they see as negative.
But what's wrong with that, Allie? I mean, literally, I think about this. And Jim knows a lot of atheists. When they're in these conversations, and I'm not talking about biology, we all can cite evolution papers. But philosophical papers. When's the last time you've ever heard of an atheist going, let me cite this particular philosopher, contemporary, analytical, past? I don't see it. Maybe I'm just missing it, but I don't see it. And when I do, oh, you're just making an appeal.
It's rare, but I would say that. I mean, I would say that about anybody. I mean, atheist or not. I mean, very few people. I mean,
isn't that a shame?
Cite papers.
It is.
Isn't that a shame? I mean, I think there's certain papers that everybody should at least have familiarity with. They don't even have to read them. For example, if you're talking about evolution, there's some papers you must know of. You must know Lenski's experiment. You must know maybe Dow's experiments. You must know at the very least human chromosome number 2 and the fusion paper. You have to know these papers exist if you really want to be on par with somebody who's arguing that evolution's bullshit.
Or at least the information within the paperwork.
Right, exactly.
Purpose. Yeah, exactly.
I could not cite you Marine or Doreen what is it, Marine Dowd or Doreen Dowd? See, I don't remember her first name, but I can't remember her paper specifically. But I know the experiment she did.
But you can hold the position. You can hold the position without knowing these sources, though. I mean, everybody's standards for acceptance are I mean, they vary.
But if I cite a paper, Jim, how am I appealing to authority in a fallacious way? That's called a legitimate.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
Not at all.
It's not an appeal to. No. It's not an appeal to authority when the person you're appealing to is an actual authority in the thing you're talking about.
No, I disagree. It is appeal to authority, but it's called a legitimate appeal to authority.
Yeah.
It's not a citation.
I misspoke. I should have said it's not a fallacy to do it that way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I hear it all the time.
Yeah, you can't
really... Steve has a popular. Let me tell you what appeal to popularity is, or argument ad populum. It is true. It is the case because the population says it's true. That's population fallacy.
How many people have to believe something before that thing becomes true, though?
Or if I say, "Hey, Justin Bieber is a great singer because he sold a lot of records," that's an appeal to popularity.
Well.
Oh yeah. Then you're just kissing the media's butt.
Because population doesn't ensure the truthfulness of the conclusion.
Yeah,
doesn't make it true though. You can say it all day. Doesn't make it a fact.
Right.
What if the entire premise is based around out of 5 people think X? 9 out of 10 dentists agree.
Oh yeah.
Well, those are experts. Experts don't fall into populace.
Okay.
Yeah, and the other thing is that there is something out there that people may not have heard of before, but it's called consensus theory of truth.
Yep, I've used that to try and talk to that Calvinist before.
Yeah, and there are some reasons to appeal to consensus theory of truth. When it comes to any of these theories, there's no one size fits all. I can use correspondence theory of truth one day, and I can use deflationary another. You're not beholden to any specific thing. But there are some things like even a general use for consensus theory, which is generally more in sociology. But things like we're talking about, the original part of this discussion was realism versus idealism. The consensus theory of truth would be it's true that reality is external because there's a consensus upon people that hold that. That's why we hold it to be true. That's when we say reality exists. They're holding it because of a consensus theory of truth. That's why.
But that consensus of people. Yeah. That consensus of people, though, would also be perceived only internally, and they only known through their internal mechanisms, the internal awareness of the reality itself.
We don't exist if there's no external things, right? I mean,
so that consensus is just in your head, too.
That consensus would just be in my head, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's meta.
The consensus in my head is also consensus of the thing in my head, and the consensus is my head, and my consensus in the head.
Of the head, for the head.
For the head.
Infinite regress.
The question is which head?
Also beside the head and next to the head. Let's not forget all the other oh crap, I just lost the word.
Preposition?
Bits and pieces.
Juxtaposition?
Yeah. No.
Prepositional phrases?
Just do what both atheists do. This makes them shut up.
Of the box, by the box, inside the box. Yeah, it's a grammar term.
Prepositional phrases.
Prepositional phrases?
No, not prepositional phrases.
Under, over, around.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yes, it is.
The box is on the top of the desk. I know what a gerund is, too.
Yeah, I just had one of those brain fart moments where I was like, I know what it is, but it's just not coming to me.
It's on the tip of your tongue.
Split infinitives. I wish I would have studied English more than I did. We all had English, but you tend to forget. Like I can't do a breakdown of a whole sentence where you're talking about the clauses and the subjective clause and the.
See, I don't see much usage for that in daily life, though, unless you're going to be a literature.
Just personal education.
It's still good to know. I took Latin in high school, and part of my education was essentially just learning I had to learn what a subjunctive case was before I. Yeah, exactly. I can't even describe it to you now. For
Latin is amazing, though, because learning Latin, that's the basis of a lot of different languages. So if you understand Latin, you can pick up Portuguese, Spanish, Italian. So that's a great thing to have, but you shouldn't need to know all that. There's really no reason to know that unless you're going to become a Latin teacher yourself.
I find having a strong understanding of grammar, though, can really help when you're communicating through text communications, like through Twitter or text message. If you use proper grammar each time, it is easier for the other person to understand what you're saying, and less likely that the person will there be a miscommunication.
Oh yeah, because you can't have tone under text messaging. So the better the grammar, the more realistic they can observe and get a sense of what you're trying to say.
And not to mention a little bit of creative writing too, so that you can actually learn how to express some tones through how you write it. Like I mentioned something the other day with someone where way in which you would express the word no in a tone that would imply uncertainty in the answer of no would be to follow up with a question mark or use ellipses before and after.
Yep.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, I still would like to have a better handle. I mean, like he was talking about the subjective case, or the Jim was talking about superlatives.
Superlative, yeah.
Superlative, which proposition?
Superlative.
Yeah, like on top of
the comparative degree. There's
I mean, I have a familiarity with them. I just wish I had a mastery of them, like some people do. It's just.
Oh God, it would take years and years of study, man.
Yeah, like 10 years ago.
Dr. Jones does. He's a linguist. He knows this thing.
Steve, speaking of Dr. Jones, didn't you? I thought I heard you mention something about talking about speech act theory.
Yes, we're going to be doing that on the 17th.
That's on the 17th?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about speech act theory. We're going to be talking about pragmatics. I have a lot of questions to ask him.
Yeah,
we're going to be talking about having things like what's called esoteric force. We're going to be talking about
confusing
things.
As all get out. I had a hard time. I heard Ozymandias, Ramses II, talking about it quite some time ago, and I tried to look into it. I picked up a couple of books of John Searle.
John Searle is a really good way to start.
I tried to read through there, but I'm an air service technician, so
It's not easy. No, I've been reading about pragmatics for about 2 months now, and I've just scratched the surface in preparation for this. There's literally like 30, 40 different terms out there. That there's things like declaratives, and there's things like assertives, and there's things like there's all these weird names, and each one means a different thing.
A bunch of words I forgot already.
Oh, I've already forgotten. Yeah, if you tell me what it is, I can tell you what it is, but I can't think of them off the top of my head right now. You know,
it's interesting as hell, though. I found
a commissive. I remember what a commissive is. A commissive would be a promise to do something.
Yeah,
like I promise to do this. That's a commissive statement.
Darn.
But yeah, pragmatics is interesting.
Or just I will.
Oh, speak of the devil, you said his name 3 times, and look what happens in the live chat.
You just spin around in front of the mirror and say 3 times?
No, Ozzy decided to pop up in the live chat. The dude has this weird freaking antenna in his head. I swear to God, he's like, they've spoken the name, and he disappears. So,
Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary.
Perhaps he's like one of those Beetlejuice spirits or something. You just say his name 3 times and.
Yeah, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. Spin around.
It's a fascinating topic. I'm not going to front. I have a hard time with linguistic theory, and I think that Dr. Jones must be an incredible genius to understand it. But I find it fascinating. It's just it's a little bit too complicated for me to really get a good hold on. But I'm going to try on the 17th.
No, I know you enough to know that if you were to do what you need to do, you would pick it up very easily.
I'm not that autodidactic when certain things, and this is.
You got to find the right source. You know what I use a lot? Do you know what Coursera is?
I do.
Yeah, I like to use that a lot, especially for like physics and stuff, because you can actually contact the teachers and have group chats and stuff. That one seems to be really good with breaking it down, and they have the little videos and stuff. It's pretty good.
Ozzy recommends John Austin's How to Do Things with Words. Yeah, I was reading Austin, Searle, and a whole bunch of different other people. So
if you want to have a little bit of help with your grammar when you're just using like the computer or Twitter, there's an extension called Grammarly that can actually help check your grammar.
I don't like it. It's very, very invasive. I don't know. It seems to be like always buy my product, and I don't know.
Yeah, and it holds it keeps track of what you're saying. It makes trends, and that's how it predicts. And
yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it, but I guess if it works for some people.
I like the Google keyboard. I've got Gboard, it's called, and you can actually search right there on the keyboard and add the grammar, add the spelling. It's got all these. You could put GIFs straight from the keyboard. I like that one because it gives you everything.
I use that.
How do we survive without Google? I mean, do you realize if we had Google when we were like in 8th grade, we'd be fucking gods by now?
That's what I keep saying. If
that's the next generation, but yeah,
you don't take advantage of it first. Dude, I'm telling you, my daughter would rather play Candy Crush than study something.
Yeah. You know, but if they had the motivation we had at that age, they would be all geniuses.
Oh my God!
To be fair, wasn't like your time full of just like smoking weed and listening to records?
Pretty much. I mean, I had Sabbath Master Reality on 8-track.
That's a little the
same thing.
I had Fortran cards. I had punch tape and language called Focal. There were 3K little programs that we did on microcomputers.
Yeah, I
just had Legos
and a little bit of COBOL.
Yeah,
9.5-inch floppy discs. I remember that.
Oh, I've never had a floppy disk.
I still have some 5 1/4 up in my closet.
I had 8-inch. I had 8-inch reel to reels. I had drives. I had a 4-track player. I definitely had an 8-track player. Like I said, Masterality.
That's the one thing I never had. I didn't have the 8-track.
Quadraphonic,
baby.
I've got a quadraphonic TAC in the other room.
I beat this. I had a 50 amp vacuum tube amplifier.
Nice.
Got one right behind me for guitar.
Yeah. Amazing.
Did you have one of those big laser discs where the laser disc is like this wide?
I did have.
I have the
RCA or Pioneer.
The old ass RCA record, video record. Yes.
They made like 50 of them or something, right? I mean, you did have a wide variety, but
no. See, here's the thing. My mom worked for RCA when they made those.
My dad's used to
so when that went bust, we got all the videos that they put on RCA.
Yeah, my dad used to sell a lot of that
we had the player to do it, and then we got hit by lightning, and the player went bust. So we had this whole cabinet just full of these records.
I remember the sound of the Pioneers spinning up. You could hear it actually of getting the speed, and then you could search it, and it would be like just making these weird noises, like it was
it's like a jet engine, like
yeah.
They were little fads. They kind of came and went real quick. It was just like a quick fad, you know.
Well, technology just got better. That's all. I mean, we had things like DVD came along, and then HD.
Do you remember when they made mini CDs where they looked like if you took a CD?
I remember.
I still have a bunch of them.
I had a DAT recorder too.
Did you? Oh my God. I was one of the first people in my high school to have a CD burner. So I used to download not torrents, but like Napster and stuff. And I burned
Torrents. I was peer to peer.
I had a C64. I had a TI-994A.
And it was like illegal, remember? So you had to like sneak them in because like it was illegal to download music and sell it. And oh my God, it was like
people got busted for that shit. Yeah,
they're still getting busted for it.
Are they by the record?
But they're getting busted a whole lot harder. Go over to Leonard French's channel, and he's still doing videos on people getting busted for that.
Wait, so the record industry is still going after people? Because I don't hear them.
They are going after people harder than ever.
Why would you bother? I don't get it. I'm confused.
You've got to understand. Only the people not paying for it are the only ones left doing it. Or, well, obviously, but why everyone is now, of course, paying for it. So the really hardcore people that upload and download stupid.
Why can't you just download it off via YouTube?
Yeah.
Well,
some things aren't available.
Like why? What? I could find any song in the world somewhere.
I actually know why, because
LimeWire was life. Oh my God, sweetie. Then yes,
I still do occasionally go and download CDs I go out and buy, because here on YouTube, or not on YouTube, on the torrent sites, sometimes they'll get the FLAC versions, and it's like, I don't have to deal with destroying my own CD.
And the quality is different too.
Well, yeah, FLAC is lossless. So.
Yeah, I don't mind low. I mean, I don't mind it either. Anyways, but yeah, if you're an audiophile and you want like something like 360 bit rate.
If I understand it, I don't care. I'm happy to have it.
Yeah,
I remember back when I was younger, we had a recordable cassette tapes. And when we had our favorite music playing on the radio, we put it in.
Run over and hit the button.
Yeah,
I'll leave you with this. I gotta go.
You know what's great? You always listened back, and you always were missing the first 5 seconds of every single song.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I'll leave you with this because I am going to be ending this. Here you go, people. And by the way, you have a Patreon hangout. Let me know if you want to.
I don't believe you.
Hang out there. So here's the thing: if you have not lived or did not live a great life, unless you've heard the handshake for a 240 baud, or 2,400 baud modem, 2,400 baud modem. If you didn't hear that handshake and you don't know that sound, you haven't experienced life.